There's no time.
Lost.
The time is
13
o'clock.
It's us again.
Okay, we are back.
It's Saturday. We've already started drinking. What else is new?
Yeah, it's Saturday and starting to get started.
So
I'm still kind of sleepy. I gotta try to
up for the weekend.
try to get it.
You didn't take an old man nap? You
I
told
tried,
me you were
but I
going
just
to.
laid there and I was listening to Dan Bell fucking talk fucking all. And here we are. We're ready for some quiet time. And then I just heard that.
Those are my favorite.
And I just kind of was like zoning out, but I never actually really fell asleep.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
That happens to me a lot.
So this is going to be a good show. This is going to be a witch trial show tonight.
Yeah, this actually, I was surprised because I've had this on, this has been on a couple of the polls. Somebody recommended this case to me like a long time ago, and I apologize, I can't remember who it was. And it's been in the box and it's come up in the polls a couple of times and it never got any votes. But this time it got like a whole bunch of votes. So I guess like everybody was kind of like, yeah, man, why not? Some witchcraft trial. It's a week before Thanksgiving. It's colonial America, kind of,
People with buckles and shit.
Yeah, people with buckles and shit.
Buckles, and she got buckles on the shoes, got buckles on the hats.
Like the dude that's on the Quaker Oats box.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah, man. Like this is and it was interesting because this is a case that I had never heard of and I didn't really know much about because it happened like before the Salem witch trials and had kind of a different outcome. And also famous people involved. William Penn himself adjudicated this fucking trial.
Yeah.
So, you know, I thought that was kind of an interesting... And actually, it's weird, too, because there's not a huge amount of info on it. Like, the Wikipedia page about this woman, it's really weird because they call it the Margaret Mattson witch trial. But it was her, but it was another woman, too. There was two women that they were trying at the same time for the same charges. But the other woman, like, hardly ever gets mentioned, which I was like, okay. Yeah. But... the Wikipedia page is maybe like a paragraph and a half or something like that. So most of the info that I got from this was from, there was this like 5-page article that was called The Fame of a Witch that was written by this lawyer named Craig something. It's in my notes somewhere. I'll say it when I get to it. Slagan, something like that. And so there was a lot of information about it in there. And there was like a couple of articles about it, like from Pennsylvania specific, you know, historical blogs and shit like that. So I kind of like tried to piece together, because I think that what's interesting about this case particularly is the way it turned out so different than the later Salem ones and like the whole kind of Quaker belief thing and all that kind of stuff. I found that all really interesting, like from a cultural context. So we'll kind of get into that a little bit. Like I said, it's a week before Thanksgiving here in the US, and this is kind of, it's not really Thanksgiving related, but it's like colonial America related. Maybe that's why everybody voted for it this week.
They're pouring in. We're up at 25 now, which that's actually a lot for our show. Everybody's in here. Zach's in here. Soph's here. Ken, Tammy, fucking Tila's in here. Ken.
There's fourth door down.
Somebody named Sess. Hey, Tila, did you see the hand yet? Did you see the hand or heavy metal?
He's gonna keep nagging you until you've seen it.
I know. Last time we did the show, I was talking about heavy metal, the heavy metal movie, and the hand.
Yeah.
And when I was talking about the heavy metal movie, it's like it's an animated movie. It's kind of like Creep Show, where it's a bunch of little tales and it has a wraparound. And one of the tales, I was trying to remember what it was called. It was called, I found it. It was called Den.
Yeah.
And one of our subscribers sent me this in a big package. I can't remember his name off the top. His letters are around here somewhere.
Yeah, I don't remember where I put it. I was cleaning the other day and I put the letters, like tucked them somewhere, and now I can't find them.
Yeah, if you sent this to me, go ahead and drop a comment.
Yeah,
in
it was
the
the same
section.
box that had all those like weird tales and stuff like that in it.
Yeah.
That was
because I want to remember what your name is so I can thank you and everything. But this is. One of the stories was this, and going through it real quick, it looks like it might be kind of the one that they showed in the movie might have been a little bit based on this, because some of the characters look the same. But this was a badass story. It's called the Den Chronicles, or Chronicles of Den, and I remembered it as a kid. It's a 70s thing, and real well illustrated. All right. And everybody in it pretty much nude, real stocky. Dan's always got his junk hanging out. He's always hooking up.
There's demonetization.
Yeah, he's always hanging out. He's always hooking up with these like hot, extra dimensional barbarian princesses and priestesses and stuff. With like some of them look kind of Mayan or Aztec headdresses and monsters and dinosaurs and. But it was just, and they made a lot of these. And this is the first book. I'll probably have to get the other ones. I haven't really gone in there and looked at it. It was kind of a Conan type story. But, yeah, I'm glad that I got this. Look at that. It's some cool shit.
Yeah,
I'm glad that I got this.
I was talking about how crazy that font design was.
Yeah, I got to read this. There's like 5 or 6 of these, and then there's like a bunch of spin-offs that are around this world. It's the Den Chronicles. I don't know why it's called Den. That's his name. I guess his name might be Dennis. I don't know. He calls himself Den. He goes into another dimension. He's nerd.
Maybe.
He's nerdy in this world, but he goes into that dimension and he's just this badass. You know what I mean? He's hooking up with all these hot chicks. You can't believe it. He's like, man.
I'm just saying.
And he's like
okay,
heroic.
Like if I'm thinking about it, like I'm a dork in this dimension, which, I don't stretch too far to think of that. But I feel like if I had a nerdy name, like Dennis or Poindexter or whatever, and then like I magically got transported to another dimension where I was like super buff and awesome, I would think that I would come up with a better name than just a shortened form of Dennis.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I don't know. Well, that's what he called himself.
I mean, what do you think he'd be like, cock
punch
puncher or something like that?
Tila
right?
said she did see The Hand last night. She said it was amazing. Thanks for the recommendation. She watched Heavy Metal as well, but I need to rewatch it while under the influence of recreational Mary J. Hell yeah, that's a head movie there. See that shit on acid. I like the opening where the space shuttle comes and drops a 57 Corvette out of it, and the dude's in a
that's right. I forgot about that.
Space suit, and he re-enters the atmosphere, hits the ground, bounces, and then the parachute comes out, and then he drives home to give his little daughter the Lochnar, and it fucking melted him when he came out. And then jumps all over the place. They even have like a Blade Runner story. Then they have another story where some guys are in a B-17 doing a bombing run over fucking, I guess, Germany, and they look and there's a Foo Fighter behind them, and all the crew gets killed, and the Foo Fighter is actually the Lochnar, and it brings the fucking dead bodies back. It becomes a zombie tale. That was fucking badass.
Yeah, somebody said earlier that was their favorite segment.
Yeah,
I think that was probably my favorite segment too.
Well, I also like the ones about the aliens and the big smiley face that fucking stole the hot fucking secretary, and the robots had
that was
sex
the one
with her.
that had like Harold Ramis
Yeah,
and like
that
a
was
whole
funny.
bunch of like kind of all the dudes from Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
like, did the voices for that shit.
It had all these badass bands from the 70s and the very early 80s. Ronnie James Dio was in it, from Black Sabbath and Mob Rules, and just Devo was in it, and just all kinds of, who else was in that? Do you remember? I don't know if Ted Nugent, and it's just like,
I feel
metal,
like if Ted
metal
Nugent
and-
was in
and
there,
new
I would
wave.
have commented on it.
Had Donald Fagen, the dude from fucking
okay, you're right.
dude from Steely Dan. He did a song.
Tom loves Steely Dan.
I love
if you guys
Steely Dan.
didn't know.
Steely Dan's very sentimental music, okay? It's loser music. You take a loser shit and then you bring it to a high art form, It's like gamblers that lose all their money, people that lose all their shit in fucking Las Vegas, people that fucking, just nothing but down on their luck, but then you kind of turn it into a romantic theme, you know what I mean? That's Steely Dan was like that.
Yeah, that's how you got to make yourself feel better. Because you're like,
Yeah.
you lost your shit and you're like
Learn
at
to
the bottom
work
of
the saxophone. I play just like I feel. I drink Scotch whiskey all night long
Me too.
and die behind the wheel. You like it?
But it's okay.
Yeah, it's a good, yeah. I forgot how they go. They got a name for the winners in the world. I want a name when I lose. They call Alabama the Crimson Tide. Call me Deacon Blues. Deacon Blues. Yeah. Yeah.
See, he loves that show.
I love that shit.
All right. So, so we had a couple of shout outs, and then we also have a funny Pookie story that we should probably tell before we get too much into
yeah.
the witchery. So some of the shout outs we have. Okay, so we have a new patron this week, Iain from the UK. So hello and thank you very much. Welcome to Patreon.
Yeah.
Also, I want to give a shout out to Karen, who was one of our patrons from before and drastically increased her support. So thank you very much, Karen.
Yeah.
Also, as many of you have noticed, we have broken 10,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
Go us! I didn't think it would happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew it would happen eventually, but it just seemed like it took a really
long time.
I think we got 10. Well, when I looked this morning, I think it was 10,016 or something like that. So it's like,
I think they're artificially suppressing us. A lot of people are saying that they've changed the algorithms just for everybody across the board. That if you don't have any corporate ties to them, and if you don't have any corporate ties to anybody, and there isn't any kind of deal between the corporation and YouTube, you're going to be suppressed. I believe that.
Well, I think what they did was they changed the algorithms to reward more audience engagement.
Yeah.
So people need to videos that have more likes or more comments or even more dislikes, as long as people are like interacting with it, then it seems to push it farther up in the algorithm. So that's what I heard anyway. I'm not real sure about that.
Yeah, that's right. There, Ricky Don't Lose That Number was in there. Journey and Stevie Nicks was also
I remember the Stevie Nicks one.
Yeah, Heavy Metal was a fucking good movie. I forgot who sent it to me, man, but thanks for sending that movie to me. I had only seen little bits of it as a kid, and looking back on it, I probably saw maybe like an edited version of it, because there's a lot of fucking sex and nudity, animated sex and nudity in it, so it was probably pretty heavily edited.
It was super smutty.
It was good, though. Real good.
Yeah.
I liked it. Very 70s, early 80s. It was back when they didn't give a shit. They just told you the goddamn story. They didn't care if it was inappropriate or not. They didn't give a shit if it was male gaze oriented. You know. That one about that Blade Runner story was mostly about that girl's fucking cleavage and fucking her legs, remember?
Yeah.
The girl that was trying to steal the Lochnar, that one. That was pretty cool. I just liked it.
Yeah.
I just liked it.
Yeah, Heavy Metal 2000. I feel like I just saw that on. I mean, I didn't see the movie, but I saw it on Tubi or something like that.
Tina says she loves Steely Dan, and then she goes, "Sing, Tom and Kat." I'm saying, I gotta sing sometimes. I'm not really warmed up.
Yeah, he's like not even drunk yet.
I'm not even drunk. I'm not. My voice isn't warmed up.
Oracle just snuck in. I saw that.
Yeah.
You can't sneak. We saw you. That's okay. Don't be self-conscious.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's see. What are some of the other shout-outs? Oh, so as I said earlier, I've been undergoing this very long and tedious process of taking novels that I wrote and doing new print editions of them, doing new ebook editions of them, and doing audiobook editions. Now, my novel, The Five Poisons, I first published it in print in 2014, but I've done a new version of it. The print version, ebook version's got a new cover. Like, I've corrected all the mistakes that were in there. I thought there were none, but I guess I was wrong. I've also done an audiobook version, and it's all uploaded, but it's still going through, like, the fucking whatever they do. You know, it takes, like, a couple of weeks while they have to, like, do all the fucking shit. So, when that's up, I'll announce it, but the print and ebook versions are up. Also, so yesterday...
Yeah, last night?
What?
You talking about last night with Pookie?
Yeah, we have a Pookie story.
Man, I woke up last night.
It was like it was 2:30 in the morning.
Right, I woke up last night and I hear those Pookie's claws just tearing up the damn carpet. It's a certain sound she makes. And usually that's associated with her playing with that damn hair rubber band.
She loves these like little rubber bands.
The little rubber bands in her hair. She loves those things. She'll pull them and throw them. But it's all happening in one spot. I wake up and I'm, what the fuck? I had my headphones on. And I'm looking and I see her jumping up and down and smacking the ground next to this damn black dot. It's kind of dark. I can only see through the moonlight. Then the black dot moves. And then she's jumping up and down next to it, but not touching it. And I go, man, that's a fucking palmetto bug.
That's a cockroach.
Yeah. So I had a tactical light next to the fucking bed and shit. And I hit it with the light, and there's that big old fucking palmetto bug about 1.5 inches long. They come underneath the damn door, the sliding glass door. Yeah. And she's trying to warn me. She's, Daddy, get it.
She's so funny because it's like she wants to contain it, but she thinks
doesn't
they're
wanna touch it.
gross.
She doesn't
so
want
she
to touch
doesn't want to touch them.
She doesn't want to touch. She won't touch them, but she'll jump right
Which
next to it.
I don't blame her. I don't want to touch
just
them either.
tear up the carpet right next to it and run in circles
Going,
around
"Look,
it.
Get it. It's
Get
right
it, get
here.
it, get it. But she won't touch it. She won't touch it. She's, get it. Just tries to contain
She's like,
the
I
shit.
would get it, but they're so yucky.
Yeah.
So she's trying to keep it from escaping.
Yeah,
She's like
she's going
dancing
in a
all
circle.
around, like jumping around.
Stay here.
Stay here, like until Daddy
Yeah.
gets up.
Yeah. Fucking hilarious. So I got up, I killed it, fucking threw it in the toilet, flushed it.
And then like,
it's just part of living in Dagobah, man. Florida is just Satan's ass crack.
It really is.
And you're just trying to keep the swamp out. Out of the damn house.
Sometimes unsuccessfully.
Yeah.
But Pookie is on guard.
Yeah.
After we threw the roach away, like after you flushed her.
Oh, she was sitting there by the door.
She went right back to the window and she was like looking out like she was.
Well, it's not the window, it's the sliding glass door.
The sliding glass door,
She
yeah.
knows that's
And
where they come out.
She's like guarding it. She's like, I got this.
Yeah.
I got this.
That's how they get in.
But she did like jump up on the bed afterward, like for her little report. Because we were like, good girl,
she's like,
you're a hero.
Yeah. She's trying to warn me that something was in the house. It's fucking this bizarre.
It cracks me up the way she won't touch them.
No, she won't touch it.
Although the weird thing, I don't know if it's her or if it's Beijing, because every now and then I'll get up and find like cockroach pieces.
Yeah, that's Beijing. Beijing will eat them. She'll tear them into pieces and eat them.
Yeah, see, I don't think Pookie will because she thinks they're disgusting.
No.
So, but she like they make her very upset, but she's like she doesn't want to touch. She's like getting close to him, like
yeah.
Somebody get it.
No, Beige beats them to death and then tears them apart and then slowly gets mad at them and eats them after they're dead. She's fucking crazy.
And then she leaves like little heads and wings and shit.
Because I've walked out and seen pieces of roach and then her run up to the pieces and look at me like I got it and then eat a piece and then walk off. I'm like, fuck, it's nasty.
It's nasty. They're very dirty.
Yeah.
I feel like Beijing is too old to give a fuck. She's just kind of like, whatever.
If she chase it and kill it, she eats it. I caught her out there fucking eating a damn a gopher and a squirrel. Yeah. Remember that? She had half a squirrel out there. She's pulling on it, pulling its guts out.
Yeah, it was something.
Yeah. She's
nuts.
nuts.
I love that. Yeah, she's a psychopath.
She's nuts. Yeah.
But I love that Beijing did that, but then Pookie tried to take credit for it later.
Yeah.
Like Beijing did it
because look, I killed it. It says you didn't kill it.
She's like, look, and she kind of threw it. She's like, look, I got it. Mm-hmm. And we're like, we know you didn't do that. Beijing did that earlier.
Yeah, she was a kitten when she did that.
She was trying to impress us, I guess.
All right, that's enough of Pook's story.
Yeah, but it was very, very funny. She's protecting us from the cockroaches, so we appreciate it. Also, I want to say yesterday, I actually had a really nice day yesterday because I masked up and went down to downtown Sanford, which is only about 8 or 9 miles from here. And it's kind of like a cool little, it's very small. It's like only a few blocks. That's where Mannequins is, which we've mentioned before, like the nightclub that our friend owns. But it's kind of like a little artsy, it's tons of like little cafes and little like antique shops and shit like that.
Hold on 1 second.
What?
Roy Mahandran said he purchased The Unseen Hand on Audible.
Nice.
He needs to do a review on it. My bad. He said it was a great book.
Thank you very much.
Michael Schaefer asked me, he said, Tom, you and I are the same age. You ever watch Star Blazers? Yeah, I remember Star Blazers. There was another one, too. Remember, you had Star Blazers, and then what was it one called? Star Force or something, where they had the bad guy was just a Japanese ripoff of Batman. And they had, 4 or 5 teenagers, and they had these fucking capes. They'd fly through space. It was kind of like Star Blazer. And one of them was a fucking dumb little kid who had a damn helmet with looked like a clear duck bill off the top.
Oracle said Galaxy Rangers.
Galaxy Rangers.
Was that it?
I don't think so. Maybe it was Galaxy Rangers. It was kind of like not as good as Star Blazers, but I remembered it. I gotta look back into my fucking Rolodex and see what that was.
The Rolodex.
Yeah, I just remembered it now.
Your mental Rolodex?
Yeah. The bad guy was basically just a rip-off of fucking Batman. He just had a longer, pointier nose.
Well, you gotta skirt that copyright somehow.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Ken just told a really gross story. He says, a buddy in Texas had a party and we were trashed, like you do, and a big palmetto bug walked up the wall, across the ceiling, and fell off right into the dip, just like a platform diver.
Oh, man.
Oh. One time, a long time ago, I was at my grandmother's house, and I had a shirt hanging in the closet that had like a pocket, like a breast pocket, and I put it on, and the roach came climbing out of the breast pocket when I put the shirt on.
Yeah,
I'm still screaming to this day.
Tila's talking about Florida and the high humidity. It's all the high. Yeah, it's without air conditioning, you just could not live here. The houses would just mold and rot away.
Well, yeah, like I said, it's just like constant swamp ass.
Yeah.
Everything has swamp ass, not just your ass.
Some of these old houses that were built in the 50s, they weren't really made for central air. And I don't understand. We got friends that live in them, and they're just never right. You walk in there, and they feel very dank, and they just never really smell right, and they need to tear them fucking things down, but people own them, you know. And they're not any cheaper than the newer houses. That's the thing. You know what I mean? Like this house here, this is a newer house, about 11. It doesn't cost you any more to live here than it does one of those old 50s houses.
Depending on the area.
Depends on the area, but it's about the same. I think, you know. But no, without air conditioning, I don't know how people lived here back in the old days. Well, they didn't live here back in the old days.
People did, but it was
very sparsely populated.
Yeah, it's not like nowadays. Yeah. I mean, you know, this didn't really start getting super populous, at least Central Florida, like until maybe
G-Force. It was called G-Force. That was the name of that damn cartoon. That's right, G-Force. Man, I forgot about that. I haven't heard that in a long time.
I vaguely remember that. I don't think I ever watched that. But yeah, so as I was saying, I actually went down to downtown Sanford yesterday with a couple friends of mine, and we had a really good time. Just kind of like wandered around the city, poking around in some of the shops, like I said. And in one of the shops, which was like a bookstore, like a used bookstore called, I think it's called Maya's. And it's this really big, it's like one floor is books, and then the second floor is all records. And not only did I get this kick-ass Bride of Frankenstein shirt, you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Well, if you took the little banner away, you could see it.
Well, hold on, I have to go.
We could actually run without the banner for a while. It was good.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
I got this.
Yeah, you guys can see them big old jugs. Look at the size of that place.
You want to leave the jugs on?
Just leave them jugs there, man. Proudly display. All the guys are going to be in the comments thanking me. Oh, look, somebody says, Tom, turn her sideways. Okay, hold on.
Turn me sideways.
Turn her sideways. I'm just kidding.
Oh, and now my thing is, okay. Sorry, the laptop is in the way too. I didn't realize. But also, yeah, so I got this in the bookstore. They also had they had a bunch of like horror movie t-shirts. I was really excited. Also, I didn't buy it because it was $125, and also it was like too big for me to carry around for the rest of the day. But they had a massive print from, of all things, the movie Dead and Buried. Yeah. Which,
man, I gotta see that again.
I was like, so random.
That movie scared me when
I was like, oh my god, I love that movie. And I was like, that's so weird that happened to be like the one big movie poster that they had. And I was just kind of like, man, I kind of want that.
I think I saw that movie just maybe months before Mammoth Mountain thing went down. That movie scared me back then.
It's kind of a creepy movie. Yeah. We did a retrospective on it a while back.
And I was seeing it at a time where I didn't know much about the zombie, myth. What do you call it? Zombie, fucking not
War?
mythos. What the fucking word am I thinking of? Man, I'm getting tired.
I don't know.
The genre. I didn't really know much about zombie genre. You know what I mean? I didn't see. I saw Night of the Living Dead, but I didn't see Dawn of the Dead. I didn't know there was a zombie genre really back in the early 80s, late 70s. So I didn't know really where that fit. It was just a weird fucking movie. You know what I mean?
It is really weird.
Yeah.
That's why I was like I was so weirded out. Like when I walked up, I was like, ooh, random. I was like, that's so strange that they've said.
They're bringing people back to life. They're killing people.
They didn't really have any other movie posters, just that one. And it had like a really, really nice like frame on it, like an oil painting type of frame. And it was big. Mm-hmm. And it was $125. And I was just kind of like, man, if that wasn't $125, it probably didn't weigh like 40 pounds. So I could like lug it around on my back all day. But what I did do, stupidly, because I think the bookstore was the first place that we went into, because I was like, me and like, my two girlfriends were just like, woo, bookstore, yay! And it's like used books and like cheap book, I'm all about it. So we were in there for like forever. And stupidly, I was like, I need more books. But, I justified it as a business expense because I do the book review show now. And even though I still have a huge pile of books to get through, I could always use more. So I had a little bit of a book haul Got a Peter Straub novel that I hadn't read. Got a Dan Simmons book that I hadn't read that I'm very, very excited about. That was the first one I picked it up and like I read the thing and I was like, oh yes, please, I'm having this. And I got a Richard Lehman paperback, got a Frank Peretti. So those will be on the show eventually, but I was very, very excited. But then at the antique store, I had to buy a cheap backpack to carry because stupidly I did not bring a backpack with me. So I had to buy a backpack to put the books in so we could walk around for the rest of the day. But yeah, it was like really fun. Downtown Sanford's pretty cool. We've been down there a couple times, like I said, to go to mannequins, but it wasn't ever anywhere I really like explored. But there's all kind of like cool shit down there, like all these little antique shops, all these like little weird. We went to this one place called Triple Goddess that was kind of like, I thought it was more going to be like more a Wiccan store, but it was actually kind of more like a weird boutique that had like all this weird like gothy jewelry and like weird. They had these really cool like they looked like those weird like candles, like Catholic candles, except they had like all the Universal monsters on them. Those were kick ass. I was actually going to buy those, but then I was like, well, I don't want to carry breakable things around for the rest of the day, so I didn't get them. And I had already spent like so much money on shirts and books and food.
We're pushing almost 50 people
and coffee. You know,
almost 50 people in the watching the stream, so that's good.
Oracle says, speaking of books, The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher might be up your alley. You know what? You are the second person that has recommended that to me. So I'm actually going to write that down right now because I have a couple books that I want to buy, and that might be on my next purchasing thing.
She was talking about her and her husband moving to I think she said New Mexico. What was that?
New Mexico? What are you looking at?
Let's see what she was talking about.
DJ Maniac said, I heard Richard Lehman. I
Arizona.
guess I have some of his books, but they had one there that I hadn't read, so I got that one.
Arizona would be great. I love the desert. I've loved the desert since I was a kid. It's nice and dry. You can do a lot of stuff, a lot of dirt biking and stuff, a lot of adventuring. And at night, it's nice and cool, sometimes cold. I've always liked the desert. And I think I started going. My dad started taking me when I was like fucking 7 or 8 out to the Mojave.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Tim. And then it ended up in the damn Sinai Desert in Egypt, man. Fucking the Egyptian deserts were fucking it was like Mars, man. I got pictures of it. I need to show those one of these days. Me out there, fucking camels and shit, Bedouina. Me and the Bedouina kids hanging out. We were doing vehicle patrols out in the Sinai. I had to do with AWACS planes and stuff. It's a kind of long story, but no, I fucking love the desert. There's just something about it.
It's
like
really.
hills
I've never
have
been.
eyes
I've never
type
been to
thing.
Arizona, but I have been in New Mexico. I went to Santa Fe like a couple years back, and it was like really, really cool because to somebody that grew up in swamp ass land like I did, seeing someplace that looks like Santa Fe, New Mexico, it's just like an alien planet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in a good way. Like it was super cool.
Sinai is even more alien. The Egyptian desert is fucking bizarre. It's like Mars. And I tell you what, man, it's manly. The desert is a manly fucking place. It's a high testosterone.
That's his main
manly.
criteria
It's
for like
manly.
pretty much everything.
Well, we were living out in it.
Oh, somebody just gave me another book recommendation. I'm gonna write
great.
that down too. Harvest by Jill. Like I said, I'm gonna buy like I just bought 4, but I'm always on the lookout for new shit. So if anybody has like any good scare the shit out of me, come on. Or it could be super fucked up too. I love that. I love that shit.
Used to sleep out in the desert, man. We'd see those fucking Egyptian cobras. Those wouldn't scare me. I ran down an Egyptian cobra one time and tried to catch him, but I gave up. Yeah, I gave up. I was like, you know what? If I did get bit, I fucking wouldn't make it, in time. Anyway.
Yeah, that would suck a lot.
The thing that really bothered me though in Egypt is that we had these things called camel spiders.
Oh yeah,
They were fucking ugly.
I've seen those. I mean, I've seen pictures of them.
They're this yellow looking down spider with a couple of beaks on it, and they'd walk up on you while you were asleep, and they would numb a part of your skin and start gnawing, and they would eat a big hole in you. I never got eaten, but a friend of mine named Phil Cobb got eaten. It ate a hole in him about the size of a silver dollar, maybe about 1/8 of an inch deep. Oh, man, it looked fucking bad. Good thing it wasn't on his face though, because it healed up.
Yeah, that would suck.
Fuck, man.
The only spider story I have is that when my brother was a little bit younger, he was probably a teenager in his 20s, he got bitten by a brown recluse
The camel spider
his knee, and he got blood poisoning.
The camel spider wasn't a spider though. That's just what they called it. The camel spider was more like a scorpion.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even think it didn't have 8 legs. I think it had 10.
Well, then it's not a spider
Or
a scorpion.
Well, it didn't have claws like a scorpion. Instead, I think it had another pair of legs up there, like pedipalps.
Yeah, okay.
That's what it had.
So maybe it is a spider then.
No, I think it was a scorpion.
Okay.
It didn't have a tail that curled up on it, but it was a flat like a flat scorpion tail, almost kind of like the ass on a tick or something, or
tick ass,
like a tick ass or something, or a cockroach's ass.
I try not to look like too hard at them, but yeah, I know.
It's like a flat. Yeah, it was like that. Or you know what it looked like? Remember those potato bugs?
Yeah.
It looked like a potato bug with real long legs on it. That's
weird.
what it looked like. It was ugly.
Yeah,
fucking
okay.
real ugly. And 2 beaks.
Alex Souza said Bear Grylls ate one. Of course he did.
Ugh.
With a side of his own pee.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Oh, Bear Grylls. You don't know who Bear Grylls is? He was like he did that show. He's like that British like special forces guy. And he'd show you how to do like survivalist shit.
What, he ate a camel spider?
He ate everything. He ate snakes. He drank his own pee. He did all this other kind of stuff, which probably he didn't have to do, but whatever. He's just kind of trying to show you. Yeah. Hey, if you're attracted, they would drop him in different environments, like on the show. Yeah. It was the same thing as Man vs. Was it Man vs. Wild? There was more than one like going around. I like Bear Grylls because he was British, but I heard, I don't know if this is true, but I heard that as soon as the cameras went off, they just they picked him up. I just hit my elbow on the table. They just picked him up in a van and he went and stayed at the Hilton, which I don't know if that's true or not. But
you're talking about Carlsbad Cavern. My mom took me to Carlsbad Cavern when I was like about 8. That shit scared me, man. It was cold down in that fucking cave. And you could walk down in there. There was one part where they turned the lights off, and it was just fucking pitch black in there. I'm kind of into caves, though, in a weird way. Yeah. And yes, I've seen The Descent. Carlsbad Caverns, fucking, it was a trip. I went in some cool caves when I was in Wales, and I was just kind of like, man, I could live in here. I like it. Yeah. Just like, you know what I mean? Just like when I used to see people that made houses out of in underground, they had little underground caves and they made a house out of it. I'm like, I could live in that. I don't need a window or to see sun or nothing. Fuck that. I'm a dark. Yeah. I'm like Gollum. You know what I mean? It's all right. Is it about time to start the show, you think? Probably, now that we're fucking 42 minutes in, and probably people are still complaining. Why don't you guys aren't talking about witches? Well, we're trying to make like a 3-hour show. Well, and we're just kind of here talking to you guys. We're just telling you what our days have been like lately. Well, we always fucking warm up for about 40 minutes. Yeah, we got to get a little bit. Got to warm up. Liquored up before we really get too much. I even sang already. You did. I even sang already. I might have to sing again. If you sang this early, I don't know what you're going to be doing at the end. Man, you might be naked by the end of the show. No, I ain't going to be, no. They'll pull our monetization. Well, you already showed naked titties, but they weren't real titties. They were drawn. No, they're illustrations. They're illustrations of titties. Yeah. Don't trip. Hopefully nobody Don't trip. No. Well, all our shit gets limited anyway, just because we're always talking about murderers. No, when I was doing research on that, and they actually showed the inside of all those comic books in whole videos. Oh, okay. And that, so we're safe. That artist actually sells big prints and stuff, and it's all nudes. It's barbarian nudes and shit, just right out of the comic book. I don't know why people would have a problem with nudity. It's fucking. They're called breasts, and everyone has them, as Rick from The Young Ones. It started off, you know what I mean? It was fucking real religious people, and now it's all these fucking, new church people. That's not proper, or that's fucking male gaze shit. I don't want to hear that shit. Come on. I'm a product of the 70s and the 80s. Well, the thing is, it's just it's a body, it's a body. You know what I mean? Yeah, I can see if you want to censor photos of murdered people and shit like that. Okay, it's straight up porn or porn. Yeah, sure, it's I can see that. I mean, you don't but you can tell people, hey, we're gonna show pictures. Because sometimes I've seen some true crime documentaries that say, hey, we're gonna show crime scene photos. If that's gonna upset you, then don't watch it or skip over it. And there were a whole erotic nude sculptures and art were fucking publicly that was acceptable even in the Victorian era, and those people were fucking uptight.
Yeah, although
You know what I mean?
they were
The
uptight in
lamps-
some ways,
Yeah,
but
the lamps would be just naked women
with
and
all
shit.
the nymphs and whatnot.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Even fucking early car hoods in the 1920s. It's just some naked chick flying through the air. That's what's on the fucking front of the lamp. That's what's on the front of it. That's the
naked
hood
chicks.
ornament of the car is a fucking naked chick flying through the air. I don't understand it. People are uptight.
Michael Schaefer said, if
Okay.
I had breasts, I would never have gotten married.
Oh, man. That's ridiculous.
I used to laugh because they do make, it's funny because, you know, everybody knows they make sex dolls, like, you know, real dolls
Yeah.
and stuff. But the funniest thing to me is that they also make, like, partial, like, so you can just buy, like, say, an ass
Yeah.
or a pair of breasts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which that's very funny to me. It's like, if you don't want to deal with the whole woman,
That's
here,
ridiculous.
just have, like, a vinyl pair of breasts that
It's
you can
ridiculous.
stick your, like,
My
bean in
chest
between.
is bigger than the average woman's. I'm not fucking married. I'm not married myself. I put most of you bitches to shame. It's all meat titty, too.
All meat.
Meat titty, yeah.
All white meat. Sanderson Farms. Carve it up.
Yeah, look like get the fuck off me. Like that fucking straight up fucking.
Get the fuck off me.
It's all that
then.
straight. It's all that straight up fucking turkey meat. It's like
It's turkey meat.
yeah,
turkey.
man. Fucking give me some of that breast. Hey, we got a turkey. I'm gonna get a turkey fucking probably tomorrow or the next day.
You
Get a
know,
turkey.
yeah, we haven't got a turkey yet.
Gotta start thawing that bitch in that back refrigerator to be ready in time.
Well, shit, if you just buy it tomorrow, you don't have to freeze
And
it.
then I'll
You
buy
can just-
another one the day after when all the fucking prices fall.
Yeah, and then we can have that for
Some of
Christmas.
that leftover fucking turkey.
Yeah, we'll make 2 turkeys. Because honestly, like, I
That's
like...
a trick. You people need to know this. I'm gonna fucking
Everybody
tell you.
knows that,
Yeah, everybody
come on.
knows that shit. You get the turkey for Christmas or for Thanksgiving. When the day after it's over, go down there and go get you the leftover turkeys. They'll have that shit 50% off.
Because, man, I never get sick of, like, Thanksgiving
No.
food. I love that
Fuck
shit.
no, I'll make a turkey again.
I love that shit. Well,
Yeah,
I think
dude.
didn't we do that
We did
last year?
Last year, hell yeah, 8 turkeys.
Because we had 2 turkeys, I
Yep.
think, and then like we made one for Thanksgiving, and then we made another one for Christmas.
Turkey Fest 2019.
It was, and I was there for it.
And it was weird is that the cats won't eat turkey. You give the cat a piece of turkey, like, nah, that doesn't have gravy.
Which is weird,
Nah.
yeah, because like one of their favorite, well, Pookie's favorite flavor of cat food is turkey and cheese.
Yeah.
It's slightly above like the fishy flavors. She
Yeah.
likes like stinky fish flavors.
And I'll take that fucking
but turkey and cheese is her favorite.
I have the stuff in the dressing. I'll make the fucking 2 different kinds of gravy. I'll make the damn gravy out of the damn stock for the fucking
Make the
gravy.
Brazilian cream corn.
You make Brazilian cream corn. I'll have like the stuff that came out of the stock pot. When I'm done with that, because you got some of that ends up going into my stuff, and some of that ends up being gravy after I'm done with that. And I'll puree all those vegetables down, the vegetables and the fucking like the turkey stock, and turn that into. I got 2 different gravies. I'll do one that'll be like giblet gravy, and the other one's kind of like a vegetable gravy. Turkey vegetable gravy.
Yeah, in case
I
you
think
don't
I
like
made
giblets.
3 different ones last time, didn't I?
You might have, yeah.
Yeah. So
And
I
they were
had-
all good.
They were all good because I don't like that damn liver. I don't like
either.
that liver in there.
It's
but,
too. I don't hate it, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's a little ire.
But I do like the gizzard and the heart, and I like the turkey
Yeah,
neck. And I like
those
the
are
turkey
alright.
neck. I like the turkey neck.
that.
I'm a turkey neck.
You're full of turkey
Yeah,
necks.
turkey necks. Yeah, my
That's
dad
your
likes the turkey
prerogative.
necks, too. That's your prerogative. But yeah, we're gonna do that again. But I'll take that whole fucking turkey carcass and have that shit rendered down, just all the bones out of it, nothing but just meat, maybe like a couple drumsticks, and I'll have that in a damn Tupperware container. I'll break it down real quick. We went through it pretty fast.
Well, because I love turkey sandwiches.
Turkey sandwiches.
I mean, you get some really good,
Yeah.
like, dense bread.
Yeah.
You put turkey, you put stuffing, you put cranberry sauce, you put fucking
Yeah.
mashed
Get
potatoes
that
on it.
frozen-
Why not?
Get the frozen dough and let that rise.
Put a
let it
little bit of
thaw,
mayo,
and then
salt,
make all those dinner rolls.
Fuck yeah.
And I make yeah, and then turkey sandwich on the dinner roll, homemade cranberry sauce.
Yeah. We don't
With
do that shit
gravy
with the
and-
can when
No.
it's like
No,
where it comes
get
out
those
the
frozen
can shit.
cranberries and then put some damn pecans in it, and mash it all up, sugar, cook it, and make your own. Make your own. It's so much better.
Well, cranberry sauce is pretty
Cranberry
easy
sauce.
to make.
I like pecans in it.
Yeah, I'm not like a huge fan of cranberry sauce, but if you're gonna make like a turkey sandwich, it needs cranberry sauce
Yeah,
on it.
with gravy and
Yeah.
stuffing.
Yeah, well, the sandwich
And
needs all the shit
it
on
needs
it.
all that shit.
It needs all the shit.
It's
on
got
it.
the sandwich must be 2,500 calories per serving.
I'm sure it's probably
Yes.
more than that actually.
Exactly.
Depending on the size and stuff. I think you're going more to like 5,000 calorie territory. It's like, shit, put a slice of pumpkin pie on there too. Why not?
Ask me what my cup size is. My cup size.
You want to borrow one of my smaller bras and see if
that probably.
Let's see. Let me squeeze the. Let me see.
It's not a. It's probably about a B. No, probably about a C.
Oh, I don't know.
That?
Well,
no, B.
I don't know.
No, grab the meat. Grab the whole thing.
Yeah, but here, do you even know how to measure for a bra?
No, I don't know.
He doesn't know how to measure for a bra.
I just grab them bitches and go, yeah, that's about a B right there. That's about a C.
Well, see, that's not. That shows what you know.
Yeah.
What the bra sizes for dudes that don't know.
Yeah, see, I don't have any sag. This shit's fucking up high as rock hard. You know what I mean? Like, damn.
Well, that's why I'm thinking.
So
like, no, I don't.
From the size.
I don't mean like any insult or anything.
Yeah.
But the cup size.
Yeah.
I mean, the number that's at the front, like 36, 38. Yeah. That's how many inches you are around right here.
That's ribcage, yeah.
But the cup size is how many inches is between under your boob and pointy boob and where your nipple is.
All right.
So it's like if you don't, so like 1 inch is A cup, 2 inches is B cup, 3 inches is C cup, and so on and so forth. So I feel like you don't have, because they're not jutting out. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm not,
It don't matter. I don't care.
So I'm just saying, I don't, if you were anything, it would be an A cup maybe.
I'm mostly bullshitting. I'm just trying to put the show on. You know what I'm talking about? They're asking what my fucking titty size is. I'm one that brought it up, so I was asking for it. Then they want to know exactly what cup size is. And they're gonna have these fucking girls.
That's what I'm saying.
This is girls asking this shit. You know what I mean? They're gonna want to see you do the whole measurement. Have to make a whole measurement video.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to get like the measuring tape in here.
That was Ilsa.
Because she knew how funny it would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. By my bras, I usually get like 36D or 36 double D, depending on the bra. Because some of them, like, you can't ever get one that fits the same as the other one because sizes are bullshit. So, as every woman knows. Because I have things of all different sizes and they all fit differently because there's no standardization.
Yeah. And what's funny is you go to Japan and all the fucking sizes are claimed to be like 2 sizes bigger than they actually are. Did you know that?
Well, that's why when I order clothes from Asia, I always order like 3 sizes larger than I would normally get.
I heard some Japanese girls fucking talking about it on one of these videos on YouTube. They had all the subtitles, and they had some Japanese girl explaining to the other Japanese girl. She's like, well, yeah, but mine are big. I'm like a C cup. And he goes, yeah, but not in America. And like, what are you talking about? The cup sizes are totally different. In America, you'd be about a B cup or an A.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. The sizing.
And they were like, really? And they were like, yeah. They were like, they expand all that shit out here in Japan to make you feel better. That's what the Japanese girls said.
Well, I feel like that's probably what they did in the U.S. too, but like in the opposite direction. You know what I mean? So they're kind of saying it's like, oh, it's a size 6, but actually in another country it'd be like a size 18 or some shit. Yeah. That's an exaggeration. But I'm just saying that's kind of what they do over here. But the weird thing about it is that men's clothing sizes are standard. I mean, you're a man, you go get a pair of pants, it's like waist, inseam, it's in inches. Yeah. They don't do that with women's clothes. Like, if I get a dress that's a size like 6 or 8 or something like that in one brand, and if I get a size 6 or 8 in another brand, it'll be too big or too small or something like there's no standardization of sizes.
Those girls in the comments talking about bras now and all the men down in there saying that they're getting wood.
Wow, that's all we have to do?
Yeah.
That was easy.
It's fucking funny.
Fucking bras, man. I think I got into that discussion on one of the last shows. We got into like the bra discussion. Because every woman that has ever had to buy a bra everybody has one bra that fits exactly right. And when that bra breaks, like you cry because you're like, well, shit, now it's like, because they're expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, they're all talking about
I have one bra that fits right.
They're on there talking about the Asian sizes and everything. Those Asian sizes are all bullshit. They're all fucking bullshit.
Well, yeah. If it was here, if I was getting pants or a skirt, I would get a medium or a large. Yeah. Over there, I have to get like XXL, and sometimes that doesn't even fit. And because I have like big thighs.
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny hearing these Japanese girls explaining. One Japanese girl explained to the other Japanese girls. It was on Asian Boss, I think. All right. It's a channel on there. And somebody was talking to the Japanese girls about cup size and this and that. And then the person who was actually doing the interview was like telling them that the sizes in the West are different.
Yeah.
That that because you might be a C in Japan, you're not a C in America. So, you know, and then they were saying they've adjusted that for what did they say? For psychological reasons.
Well, yeah, because nobody wants to feel like
boob greed.
Oh, I'm flat.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I'm so because
Yeah.
here's the shitty
Boob
thing.
greed is universal across the earth.
The shitty thing, though, is that
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, speaking of being universal, I
Yeah.
feel like the world over, women everywhere,
Yeah.
no matter what they have, if they have big boobs or small boobs or whatever,
Yeah.
it's like everybody is always dissatisfied
Yeah.
with what they have. It's like, I wish I had something else. Like, oh, I have straight hair. I wish I had curly hair. Curly haired
Yeah.
girls wish they had straight hair. Like, big boob girls wish they had smaller boobs. Like, smaller
Yeah.
boob girls wish they had bigger boobs. It's like no one's like happy
Yeah,
with
they were
what
showing.
they have.
They were
It's
showing
very
them.
sad.
They were showing them pictures of like actresses that they knew. You know what I mean? Like, you know, they had implants. You know, like, you know, what was the one? Who's that fucking crazy ass skinny one?
The crazy ass skin.
Crazy ass.
You're gonna have to narrow it down.
Angelina fucking
Jolie,
Jolie.
okay.
Yeah, this is back when she was, you know, rocking a decent set, like back in Tomb Raider times.
She
you know?
got breast cancer though, didn't she?
Yeah, yeah, and they were like, some girls like said, "Yeah, I'm a C cup." And she goes, "Oh, because you should be about the same as Angelina Jolie." They show her pictures of that from that movie. And they, yeah, about that side. And he was like, "No." And then they told him about the differences in the sizing. He says, "Over here, that would be like an F cup." And they're like, "Oh, so it's different." Said, yeah, it's very different. So the proportions have been tweaked for psychological reasons, for marketing reasons in Japan.
Well, yeah, like I said, if
Yeah.
you're a smaller framed,
Yeah.
you know, you're gonna be like over here. You're gonna be an A cup.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just what. And the,
Well,
like,
no, you can be small framed. Look at. Well, that depends.
Well,
that depends
I'm
on
saying-
genetics.
well, yeah.
One, two, and that also depends on surgery, because fucking our friend, fucking Sonia, that we haven't seen in years. All right, she was very small frame. She was what, maybe 5 feet tall and about 90 pounds.
Maybe 90 pounds.
And she was what? That was fucking
Yeah,
650 cc implants. That's
yeah, that
fucking
wasn't natural though.
triple D, maybe.
I'm saying naturally. I'm just saying, obviously, if
Nature's
you
got
have
nothing to do with this.
if
This
you
is
have
boobs.
implants,
This is boobs.
obviously,
Yeah.
if you have implants, that's
Yeah.
a different issue.
Right.
I'm just saying, if you're naturally small,
You could see
framed,
them boobs from the back.
You could, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she was very, very small.
Right, yeah.
I mean, not just
Yeah.
thin. She was
Right.
like also very short.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's just a tiny, tiny
Right.
woman. But yeah, she had very big implants. Well, the implants weren't. They were big, but
They look big on her.
they just looked big on her because she was
There
like
wasn't
so
much there.
small.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, everywhere else.
Right.
So whereas you know somebody who was like larger framed and they got the same thing, it wouldn't look as.
I mean, everybody
big.
we know is some kind of freak anyway. They're not normal proportioned.
Well.
You know what I mean? One way they're, either they're, especially when they were younger. You know what I mean? We've been hanging out for over 10 years now. Some of them really, they've changed a lot the past 10
We
years.
hang out with a bunch of weirdos. Is
Yeah.
What we're saying.
And some of them, like those two cam girls, they're fucking rocking beach balls.
I need to find those pictures.
Yeah.
That was probably 3 or 4 years ago. I want
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah.
At Escape, that fetish
Yeah.
club.
Yeah.
And yeah, you took a bunch of pictures of
Yeah, I got pictures of them.
of me and them.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them in a long time.
No, they don't come out anymore.
Yeah. I mean, we don't go out anymore either,
Yeah.
obviously, because of all the shit, but yeah, we haven't seen them in
I don't think it's
a
going to
couple
change.
of years.
I think it's going to get even worse.
Well, like I said,
Just
I
what
don't
I'm
know.
saying.
You know,
I think it's apocalyptic.
don't be Debbie Downer.
Okay. I think they're going to ratchet it down and ratchet it down. They're going to stay in your fucking pod, bitch. That's what they're going to say. And then they're going to destroy the entire economy where there's nothing to do outside. So it's going to be like North Korea. That's what they do there. There's no, I mean, you stay at home in North Korea and then you work. You stay at home in North Korea if you're not working because there's nothing to do. It's a totally minimized economy.
Well, which I'm telling you though, I went to downtown Sanford yesterday. Like I said, safely. It wasn't like
Yeah.
super crowded because it was the middle of the day, but most of the shit there was open
That's
and
'cause
like
Florida's-
people were doing like normal shit.
That's because Florida isn't
Everybody
locked.
had masks on,
That's
but
because
you know.
Florida isn't locked down. Other states are locked down, or they're trying to.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, the thing about it, though, is that we had Spanish flu back in 1918, 1919. It's like, it was the same kind of thing. It went in cycles. There were lockdowns. It was fine. There was another lockdown. It was fine. And eventually, it took a while, but it's like, finally it was gone. And, you know, I'm just saying it's...
I think they lost political will. They just let it run and it burned out. That's what I think happened.
Well, you know,
I think
like I said,
just absorb the casualties.
Well, we already are because
it's not gonna make any difference. Just go to work. All right.
Everybody has been working.
Yeah.
Like I said,
There's some states
most
that are
people have
locked
been
down.
working. I know, but some people still have to work.
Okay.
A lot of people have to work still. Yeah. So, like I said, don't be a Debbie Downer.
Okay. I'm just getting people mentally fucking prepared.
No one needs to get mentally prepared. Everyone's mentally prepared.
Right.
Everybody knows what's going on.
All right. Prepare yourself, people.
Prepare yourself.
Prepare your mind, people.
Everybody knows.
I'm listening to what they're saying in here. They're talking about titties. Just everything. They love titties.
Well, like I said, you get started. You go off on titties, and everybody gonna start talking about titties.
It was funny that the women are talking more about the titties than the men.
Well, yeah, because we like to fucking commiserate about that shit.
All right.
It's hard being a girl.
Guys, you can take me later. Go ahead and send me some flash bulbs and some money. I whipped them up into a frenzy. It's nothing but just women talking about boobs.
Because, like I said, there's no, you know, it's really cool to like
for your entertainment.
You know what? You know what? I think that was, other than like being able to like go in the used bookstore and like go be like yay and like look at books forever, and geek out and stuff. I think the nicest thing about going out with my friends yesterday was that was the first time that I had been out just like hanging out with my girlfriends like for ages. I don't even remember when the last time that was. Yeah. So it's like it's nice to like talk to like girls like in person.
Michael's telling me the girl too skinny. He's talking about Sonia, I guess. He likes garden gnomes. I was laughing the other day. There was a woman in the comment section that she was built like a garden gnome. I told her to break it off. Send us some pictures. See this.
I'm kind of built a little bit
like
a garden gnome too.
Said she was all ass and everything going on. It sounded tittillating, but she never sent any fucking pictures. It
sounded titillating.
Never sent any fucking pictures. I wanted to see it. Okay.
I have to. Well, and like I said, I feel like this is sad because I feel like, you know, I have never met a woman that was happy with her body ever. There's always something. Some people are like pretty much okay, but they're like, oh, I wish I could change this, that, and the other thing. And I have the same thing. I have like the weirdest. I was talking to our friend Angel the other day about this shit. I was like, I can't even buy normal pants because I'm so short-waisted that when I buy stuff that's supposed to be hip huggers, it comes way up over my belly button. Which I don't, you know, I'm only 5'3", and like I see like these women like in person, not just like in Photoshop like fashion magazines or anything that have like their, you know, fucking torso stretched, because they do that. But I've seen women in real life and I'm like, you know, they have this torso and it's like normally proportioned and like the hip huggers are like right there. I'm like, how does that, like that does not happen when I put those types of pants on. Because the pants just like come way up here, like right under my titties. Because I'm like, well, because I'm super short-waisted. I have, it's like this, my torso is like this long.
It doesn't seem to be short-waisted though.
It is. Well, that's why I can't wear into like normal pants. That's why I kind of I have like these yoga pants that are long and flared and they're thick, so you can wear them for like business pants. And so I have like 3 or 4 pairs of those. And then I have like 3 pairs of, you know, kind of like same thing, but like walking pants, but they're like capris and they're super comfy. So I have 3 pairs of those and that's pretty much it.
No,
like I just wear those.
Talk about your closet is filled to the fucking brim. That's just what you wear most of the time when you're around the house. You got so much.
Well, yeah, because they're comfortable. Like I have some jeans, but I feel like even if they kind of fit, it's like I have muffin top issues, or they get like uncomfortable when I sit down or something. Yeah, well. Because they either go way up in my crotch, or they're like, you know, too far down, or something. There's always something.
Well, you haven't been shopping in a while either, too. Some of that stuff.
That's true.
Yeah, you just need to. Some of my shit, I gotta throw it out. Well, look, we're off fucking target.
I know. We're like an hour into the show.
Yeah,
we haven't
been drinking.
Like
we're now talking about fucking what we have in the wardrobe. Come on, let's get the fucking show on the road.
You want to start talking about witches?
Start talking about the witches.
We're gonna talk about witches.
Yeah, and they're all talking about their weight and stuff. All right, you guys need to get it off there. And then Sophie's talking about girl issues, overflowing corsets, and having issues with overflowing closets. And issues of 3/4 of it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty much because sometimes you buy clothes and then like they fit for like 2 weeks, and then like a week later you lost a couple pounds or you gained a couple pounds, and now it doesn't fit right anymore. And it looks all fucked up, and it's like. And then I have some clothes that I really like and they fit right, but then they start getting holes in them, and then it's like, well, I can wear this if I wear this other thing over it, so you can't see through. You know what I mean? So it's just like this big fucking issue.
Yeah, I thought you were saying overflowing corsets. I love overflowing corsets.
Yeah, he loves that shit.
Yeah, but But yeah, okay, I got you.
Jenny has to show because we don't believe a word she says about her yoga pants.
I got pictures. Of proof
I have
all
yoga
this
pants
shit.
on right now.
Yeah, I got pictures of fucking proof of everything.
I have flared yoga pants on right now. I used to have hot pink yoga pants, but the ass busted out, I think.
That was fun.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
it was probably your fault.
Yeah.
They were old.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. All the ones I have now are black because they go with everything. And like I said, the nice thing is about these yoga pants is that they're not like yoga pants like, oh, you can see through them, but they're like really, really thick. So you can wear them. You can get away with wearing them for like business shit. You know what I mean? Because they kind of look like slacks, sort of, but they fit like yoga pants. All right, so let's talk about some witches.
Yeah, let's bring it to the witch thing.
Let's bring it to the witch thing. Now that
Yeah,
I
how are you doing for... Okay, I'll get it in a bit.
Yeah, well, why don't you talk about something for a second, because I kind of have to pay
Okay, go
someone.
ahead.
Now everybody can see my yoga pants.
Yeah.
While I stand up, see?
Go ahead.
Yoga pants.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Which way are you going? All right.
This way.
All right.
I can't get around that.
All right, let's see what everybody's doing. Give her a few seconds.
Yeah, just give me like 2 minutes.
I'm going to go ahead and get some of this tequila. Oracle's got to leave already. Man, we got 60 people in the conversation already. That's fucking awesome. It's good. Every time we do this show, we get more and more people watching the live streams. Which that's awesome. Got people watching from Germany. Oh, Sophie, you like the Big Lebowski? Big Lebowski was fucking good, man. That was a really excellent flick. I forgot who it was that sent me that. But, yeah, that was a good flick. It was kind of like Napoleon Dynamite in a certain way, but it was like a boomer version of Napoleon Dynamite. Kind of like a detective flick where this old fucking burned out fucking stoner gets sent, he gets put on, basically they force him into a private detective role, and he's totally unprepared for the shit. He's the last guy you want as a private detective.
Are you talking about the Big Lebowski?
Yeah. Maria sent us $5. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Maria. Sorry,
Yeah, we could
I
always
just,
use
like,
that
looked
movie.
at my ass then, but
That's right, that was Louie that sent that. Thanks, Louie. I first put the disc in there, and that bitch wasn't playing, and I was going, what the fuck, man, there's something wrong with it. I almost tearing the Xbox up. Underneath that damn piece of paper, there was another disc. I was actually putting the 4K?
yeah, you put the 4K.
Put the 4K in there by accident. It's a 4K and a Blu-ray. I forgot. I said, well, it's 4K, you know. Oh, shit. I don't have a 4K TV yet. I'm going to get one, though. Well, actually, no, I do have one. 4K out in the living room.
Well, it's in the living room. We
In
just
the living
never
room,
watched
yeah.
that one. It's weird because I wasn't sure. Like, I saw the Big Lebowski, like, probably back when it came out or a year or two later. And I remembered a lot about it, but I didn't know if you would like it or not, especially after we watched Raising Arizona and you didn't like that one. So I was like, oh, so maybe he doesn't like the Coen brothers, like, whole thing.
No, I just thought that movie was too fucking silly for me.
See, I love
It was just too fucking silly.
love
But
Raising
I
Arizona.
liked the Big Lebowski.
You probably like Fargo.
Big Lebowski kind of had... First of all, it's a masterpiece. The edit and the flow of that movie is perfect. Shot composition, color palette, fucking really good. Every second of that movie is fucking really good to look at. It's real good storytelling, interesting characters, and a really good fucking soundtrack and score that go along with it. It's just, it'd be hard to improve on that movie when it comes to that particular story. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That's the way you tell that story.
So now you have to see Fargo.
Okay.
I can't believe you didn't see Fargo.
I didn't see that one. No.
I love Fargo.
And then, like, his Vietnam veteran buddy.
Walter, yeah.
Yeah, Walter.
Played by John Goodman.
Yeah, John Goodman played it. That was a fucking good character, Fred. He's fucking funny.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie. Yeah. Now, it's rumored that character may have been based a little bit on fucking John Milius, the guy who directed Conan. Now, that guy was not a Vietnam veteran, but he liked that kind of shit.
Which that would be crazy if that was true.
Yeah, and evidently John Milius, John Milius was a fucking badass Jewish dude, man. Fucking there there's not a lot of Jewish guys like that. He would show up to the fucking studio heads with a fucking 1911 concealed. He had a CCW. He'd have that shit concealed on his fucking person. And he'd start talking to the studio heads and start negotiating about the fucking the movies and how much money and what they were going to pay for it. And he'd pull that fucking 45 out, put it on that fucking desk like that, and start negotiating. Yeah, start negotiating with the fucking studio heads. Fucking put a gun on the fucking desk. Damn. Now that's like some shit out of when I went to Israel and was fucking drinking and working with the fucking IDF, the Israeli Defense Force. Those dudes were like that. But I've never met any Jewish Americans that were like that. Only Israelis are like that. That was my personal experience. But fucking, I'd have loved to fucking hang out with John Milius. He's badass, man. His fucking daughter's in the State Department. She shows up sometimes on AJ's show as a guest on InfoWars, and she's a fucking good guest, man. His daughter, smart, real good looking, and a lot of information on how State Department works and CIA and stuff. So I don't know if you guys never checked. I forgot her name. I don't even think her last name is Milius, but
well, she might be married, or she might have.
I think she got married. Yeah, but no, his daughter is fucking badass. His daughter is kind of like a Gina Carano kind type, but a political version of it. You know, State Department person.
Man, watching The Big Lebowski again last night, I was like, seeing John Turturro in that, I was like, man, that made me want to watch fucking Barton Fink again.
Yeah, but Hernandez sent that to me, man. Thanks for sending that to me, Hernandez. That's a fucking badass flick.
He sent us such a good movie.
Yeah, you sent me good movies, and that one, you're right, man. That's a masterpiece right there. I like
I'm really glad you liked it, because I was like, I never know, like, movies like that, I never know how he's going to react to them. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, when Sophie was here, we watched Raising Arizona, because me and Sophie love Raising Arizona. And Tom had never seen it, and I was like, "Oh my god, you have to see Raising Arizona! It's so fucking funny." And like, he didn't really like it.
I didn't really like it. I liked. Sophie showed me that Napoleon Dynamite, though. I liked that movie.
Which I did not think you would like.
That was a fucking weird ass fucking movie. Hernandez, if you liked Big Lebowski, all right, I want you to watch fucking Art of Self Defense if you haven't seen that. All right.
Yeah, he can't stop plugging that movie.
I fucking love that movie, Art of Self Defense. And I also liked fucking Vivarium, that same actor and that same that what's that actor's name?
Jesse Eisenberg.
Jesse Eisenberg.
Like I said, you probably like The Social Network as well, which is about Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook.
Yeah, that Jesse Eisenberg, he's got real good taste in projects. I got confidence in the projects he likes to do. He's got good taste in shit. So if he's in that movie, not all of the movies. Because I think some of it's corporate shit, but all the little independent films that he does, I like them.
I mean, I think Vivarium was easily one of my favorite movies that we saw last year. Yeah. Easily. Really, I mean, I just really, really liked the whole tone of it. I liked the whole aesthetic of it. I just thought it was so fucking cool. Yeah. It was just it just like got me like right in the right place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. So, are you ready?
Yeah. Go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
I know this is not going to...
Yeah.
As soon as I start talking, he's
going
to say
something else. Sidetracked. Okay.
But that's something.
They're in there talking about the movies and Nick Cage and shit and fucking going on about movies.
That's right. How can you not love Raising... Yeah. Oh my god. How can you not love Raising Arizona? Come on. Raising Arizona is so fucking funny. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, Hernandez says he's noted Art of Self-Defense. Art of Self-Defense is another masterpiece. Think about Count Dante and the fucking and the kung fu, the old school martial arts that was going on, the quackery in martial arts. It's a fucking weird movie and very true. It's a very true movie. And when I'm watching, I was like, man, they're talking about Count Dante. You know what I mean? And kung fu cults in the United States, shit like that really existed. And the weird shit that they would do. So you would like that movie. Jenny didn't think I was going to like it. We saw that one in the theater.
Well, like I said, there's a particular type of movie that I know you're going to like. Yeah. But when you get into like weird indie shit like that, yeah, it's hard to tell like what you're going to like and what you're not going to like.
The thing with Art of Self-Defense, the focus of that, the theme of that movie was about toxic masculinity. All right, the dude that wrote it, he was a real soy boy, but he did understand toxic masculinity. He did understand it, and he's not making fun of it in a way. He's just showing it, and there's truth to what they're saying, a lot of truth to it. And
you know what's weird? I was
Yeah.
just thinking yesterday of the
Yeah.
scene where he had the little wiener dog like kicked to death.
yeah.
Because it wasn't like a manly enough dog.
Yeah,
And he
what-
had to have like a German Shepherd.
Well,
or
toxic masculinity is fake masculinity. You know,
Well,
it's not real
it's
masculinity.
insecure
It's
masculinity.
insecure masculinity. But there's
You have
some-
to project this fake.
There's important lessons to be learned in that. Just like Tila, she watched The Hand, and she said she loved that movie. And I think Tila maybe understood the Conan reference and why Conan, who was actually healthy masculinity, but then The Hand was about toxic masculinity. Did you see it? Did you see it, Tila? Did you see what I was talking about?
Yeah,
I think she saw
because
it.
that guy was a giant.
That was a fucking toxic masculinity.
prolapsed anus.
Right.
I mean,
If
in
you like-
every possible way.
I'm gonna recommend that one also to Tila. Tila, man, watch Art of Self Defense. All right, it's kind of like Napoleon Dynamite, but it's about kung fu. You'll see. And there was kung fu in Napoleon Dynamite.
There was.
That was a lot like Art of Self Defense. Yeah. There's a crossover there.
Yeah.
I'm drawing.
But see,
connections.
like movies like that, like I said, Napoleon Dynamite, any kind of movie like that, like weird,
Yeah.
like indie comedies, or just like weird fucking movies like that.
Yeah.
I never know how you're gonna react because I feel like you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it.
Yeah, it's
You know
got
what I mean?
yeah.
Where I like that kind of thing usually.
There
Not
has to-
always. I wasn't a big fan of some shit like what was that movie that came out a while back that was like that everybody was talking about? Garden State. You remember that one? I think Natalie Portman was in it and shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was this kind of like, oh, sweet, like, fucking manic pixie dream girl kind of shit.
Yeah.
I really did not like that movie. I thought it was like too twee and I couldn't get into it. But normally, that type of movie, I usually like movies like that.
With me, it has to be cinema. You know what I'm talking about?
Cinema.
It has to be cinema.
With like an
3 A's.
accent over
3
the A.
yeah. 3 A's. It has to be cinema. You have to draw me into it. It's got to have good acting. It's got to take me into this story. And if it's going to be indie, you have to show me truth. I like truth. Now, truth doesn't necessarily mean that truth is delivered to you in a realistic way. It shit could be zany and wacky, but the meaning behind it is true. I like that.
Okay, I get
You
you.
know what I'm talking about? If it violates my concept of what reality is, and I go, that's not true. Truth is obsolete. I won't like it. You know what I mean? When I saw Art of Self-Defense, I went, yeah, that's true. Yeah. This shit was crazy, but yeah, that's exactly what it is. That does exist. You know what I mean?
Do you want me to? My favorite scene in that is when he finally it's funny because he finally kind of like nuts up and then like he's at work
Yeah.
and then like all the fucking douches that he works with and he just like straight up punches that dude in the face.
Yeah, and he gets them to all bow to him, basically.
That
he dominates
that
them all.
scene fucking
and
cracks
he's a
me
pussy, but he gets them to
That
all
fucking
dominate.
scene cracks me
He
up.
starts dominating. And then and
Just bop.
but he's still a pussy. That's what's fucking funny about it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah,
it's
that's
not
why
saying
it's-
much. It's not saying much for the guys that he worked with, but there's truth to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just love it. Talking about it makes me want to see that movie again.
That movie was like very, very funny.
Yeah, makes me want to see it again. I showed that shit to Sophie when she was here, and she wasn't really sure what to make of it.
It's a weird movie.
Yeah, and then I explained
It's
it to her, and
weird.
she's like, "Oh, okay, all right." And what's weird is that a dude like that really existed. And his name was Count Dante,
Yeah.
and he was a fucking kung fu master, self-made kung fu master that you saw in the damn comic books when you were a kid.
Can I
He
say
did the death touch, the dim
Yeah.
lock death touch. That's where all that fake martial arts came from. With what's the name of that fucking movie where they were going to the Kumite? Bloodsport. Yeah, it's all made up.
Of course.
Made up, man. Toxic masculinity.
Everybody
made up.
wants to believe
Yeah.
that they have this like magical power that they
Yeah.
can just like they're powerful and they can just like fucking that's not how
Yeah.
reality works.
No.
But no, I was gonna say that like one thing that I was really I don't know why this struck me so much, but when we were
Yeah.
watching the extras on The Big Lebowski and they had there's a lot of extras on there.
Yeah.
And there was like a documentary that was made at the time that it was being made, like a making of, and they had like a 10 years later like retrospective kind of, because obviously when that came out, like Fargo was like a big like critical and public success, and like I think it won some Oscars or it was nominated
Yeah.
or whatever. And then when Big Lebowski came out,
Yeah.
it was kind of like everyone was kind of meh, but then like it kind of got a cult following later
Yeah.
on. One thing that I love is they talked to Joel and Ethan Coen And I love that they're two brothers, and I love that they just kind of sat there and picked at their fingernails like the whole time they were talking. Like they were super nervous about like talking, and I really related to that because I do that too. Like when I'm talking, like when I get really nervous, and I thought it was really cool that they were like really articulate like about what they wanted to do, and they were really, you know what I mean? Like they've always been. I've always liked like every single one of their movies.
Yeah, Tila's talking about The Hand. Said The Hand was well directed and acted. Well, that was Oliver Stone. Oliver Stone was a fucking genius. It's about a highly insecure man that hated the idea of self-examination. True.
Yeah.
Another thing is that The Hand represented a man's will to possess. Okay? Remember, he drew the hand later on with the woman inside of it and trying to possess. And it was because he had to grab things because they wouldn't stay on their own. He was repulsive. They'd run from him.
Yeah.
So you're trying to possess shit. He couldn't let go. The woman wanted to leave. He couldn't let her leave. So so the hand grabs more.
Even prior to that, he wouldn't even let her have her own life or her own interests. He always like belittled them.
Right. So the whole thing about being possessive and controlling and fucking being the hand, that's all a sign of weakness. Did you see Conan fucking trying to hold women next to him? No. And he could draw a Conan-like creature, a Conan-like character, but he couldn't embody that. And then when somebody else came along and tried to improve it, to make it better, he rejected that because he couldn't work with others. There's a lot of symbolism in there. A lot of symbolism.
Yeah.
And a lot of truth in it.
It's funny because I saw that movie when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, it scared the shit out of me because, like I said, I think I mentioned this when we reviewed it, but, you know, limbs or heads or shit like that getting cut off is, like really, really upsetting for me. So that's something that, like, really stuck with me. So his hand, that scene where his hand gets cut off was always, like, really upsetting. But it's, like, it was interesting for me because I remembered that being really scary, but I didn't remember, like, all the thematic stuff about it. So I'm really glad that we got to see it later on. And I was like...
And then it leaves it ambiguous because it talks about the willpower. That's also in Conan, it talks about the will. Was the hand actually out there killing people? No. Were people dying by some kind of psychic force, like a poltergeist force? Was he killing them that way? We don't know. Or was it him, a psychopath, killing people? We don't know. It leaves it ambiguous. In the very end, he was tied up. The hand came out and killed that psychologist. Did the hand really do it? We don't know. She did release one hand, so maybe that's your out. Maybe he was able to...
Well, that's what I'm saying. You have plausible deniability.
Yeah.
It could have just been him. Because they did do a flashback where they did kind of like show him doing the shit.
But you don't know. Because then it comes back later. They left it ambiguous, which is good. Because Stone and Milius also kind of believed in the power of will and psychic force. They're talking about like the dark side of the force.
Yeah.
You know, Vader could choke you without fucking touching you. That was one of his. So,
man, I wish I could do that.
Was it that? We don't know.
I'd get in so much trouble.
And that was the kind of movies that influenced me as a kid. And later on, poltergeist shit happened. And to me, I thought they were teaching me something, that they were telling me of a reality. But I don't think they knew. They were just thinking of it. They were surmising. It goes back into old legends, going back to Chinese legends of the qi and stuff. Qi. You know.
Well, yeah, I do feel like certain ideas are kind of like universal
goes way back
across cultures. Right. Sure.
Could a woman be so evil that she could poison everybody and kill the crops, you know, just by her will, and because she did these rituals, and they call her a witch? We don't know. That's what the old ancients believed. Or the medieval people.
And so did the people that we're talking about on this show.
Who we're talking about now. So we need to get to this.
Nice segue. Yeah, now that we're already an hour and 23 minutes in. But like I said, you know, and now that my first drink is empty, hopefully I can stay more coherent than I was on the last one. I think I did okay on the last one. I got through most of the case, right? I just didn't really remember. Like, I kind of woke up in the morning and I was just kind of like, wait, did I even end that stream? I didn't even remember. I was pretty sure I did, because I sort of remembered like posting it on Instagram, which I usually do right after we finish the show. But I was like, wait, did I? I don't remember.
Yeah, Ilsa, if you like fucking Count Dante, see Art of Self-Defense. It's about a guy like that. You'll like it.
I thought it was hilarious,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean.
But there's also a lot
I have
of,
a weird sense of
there's a
humor.
lot of fucking knowledge to be learned from it when you think about it.
My first time
Yeah.
seeing you live, she looks a lot different. Wait, I look a lot different? Than what?
Then yeah.
Was that good or bad? I
No.
don't know if I should be offended or not. Should I be
Yeah.
offended? You did it. Yeah, I did. But it's like, I don't know. I've got past the point now because sometimes I try not to like drink so much that I forget what happened the night before, but sometimes, you know, shit happens. And sometimes I'll wake up at like 3 or 4 in the morning and be like, oh, damn, wait, did I end it? Is it still running like right now? Because I don't know. But then I'm just like, nah, fuck it. Because, you know, I'm too old to worry about that kind of shit now.
Yeah.
So, you know. So now that you made that segue into witches, kind of, why don't you make me another drink?
All right.
It's my shit's almost empty.
Okay.
And I'll start talking about witches without you
All right.
jumping in about Michael Caine.
All right. Okay.
Did he fuck her? Did you fuck her? Whatever. All right. So, yeah. So let's talk about the less famous than the Salem witch trials, but still kind of culturally significant witch trial of Miss Margaret Mattson et al., among others. So this happened in Pennsylvania and was, in fact, I believe, the only official witch trial to occur in Pennsylvania during this time period, and during any time period, now that I'm mentioning it. So this took place in the 17th century, obviously. This was like 9 years before the much more famous Salem witch trials. So it all started with cows, as many things do. I don't know. So we're talking about Margaret Mattson, which sometimes is spelled with 2 T's, sometimes spelled with 1 T, because as most people know, English didn't really have standardized spelling until much later on, so people just spelled things whatever fucking way they felt like. So I've seen it spelled both ways. I put 2 T's, but whatever. I've seen it spelled both ways, so like I said. So Margaret Mattson, she was a Swedish immigrant. Now, she had a husband named Niels, and they had first come to colonial America in 1654 from Sweden. And they had built this really big, they had 100 acres of like really, really nice farmland. And they built a plantation on it right near Ridley Creek, which is, thank you, near the Delaware River. For this reason, she is sometimes known as the Witch of Ridley Creek. I have seen her referred to that a couple of times. Now, this particular farm, like I said, they owned 100 acres, was known as New Sweden. This area had been settled by mostly Swedes, obviously, starting in 1637. This area is what would now be like northern part of northern Delaware, like all the way up to a little bit north of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That area was like all owned by Swedish people. Now, only a few years after like all the Swedish like immigrants had come and kind of set up their homesteads or whatever, the Dutch and English started to arrive and were kind of annoyed that all of the best farmland had been taken by those damn Swedes. So they were kind of pissed about that, and they also were kind of pissed because I guess that they thought, you know, they didn't know Swedish, obviously, so the Swedish people had different customs to them, had different language to them, so obviously that was going to be like a cause of suspicion. So there was all just kind of like, the Dutch and English were kind of like, you know, being bitch faces like toward the Swedes, I guess, and like, not necessarily accusing all of them of witchcraft, other than in this one particular case, but kind of like drumming up rumors about them and that kind of thing. So comes the year 1683. There's this dude named Henry Drystreet, which there's some great names like in this fucking thing, so I'm just going to tell you right now. Henry Drystreet. Now, his cows stopped producing milk.
Oh, something's wrong there. Oh,
so first thing you think of, witches.
Witches did it. Yeah.
This is 17th century. I mean, that's the first thing they're going to think of. They don't think of like a normal fucking reason.
Yeah,
like,
maybe
I'm not feeding them the right
enough
thing or something. You know. Nope, witches must be doing it. So he basically he almost immediately like points the finger at his neighbor, Margaret Mattson, who I guess had been rumored as being a witch for a really long time. There's not a huge amount of, there are court records of this, which I read, and some other things, but it's like, there's not a real, she had kind of been rumored to be a witch for like a long time, reportedly, but I'm not really sure why. Other than she was Swedish and maybe people didn't like her for some particular reason. Maybe that was the only reason. Because I do feel like that was kind of a... And we talked about this because we did a show about the Salem witch trials like a while back. I feel like that was... I read this really good book it was, God, probably like a long time ago. And it was called The Devil in the Shape of a Woman. And it was talking about how a lot of victims of witch trials were either... obviously poor women, women who didn't have any power, women who had shit that somebody else wanted, land or whatever, or women who were mentally ill, couldn't fight back for whatever reason. So they always went after like either vulnerable women or women that had shit that they wanted. You know what I mean? Women that didn't have husbands, didn't have protectors, didn't have anything like that. So I don't know. So it seems like this woman, Margaret Mattson, she did have a husband. They had like a substantial land holding, but I don't know if they were like wealthier than other people and people wanted their land. I don't really know. Like, I think the Dutch and English did kind of like want some of the Swedes' land because they got all the best shit because they were there first, which, fair enough. So it might have been that. But in any case, so this dude's cows stopped making milk, and he is basically like, hey, Margaret, she's a witch, and she, like, fucking cursed my cows or whatever. Now, interestingly, even though Margaret Mattson, I believe, is the only one that has a Wikipedia entry, there was another woman who was also Swedish, who was also put on trial as a witch right next to Margaret Mattson, and her name was Yeshro Hendrickson. She also had a husband named Jacob, I think it was, or Jakob, if you want to be all Swedish about it. And so they stood trial together. Now, they get brought to trial, and as I mentioned earlier, the very famous William Penn, who was a Quaker and who was the founder of the state of Pennsylvania, was actually the judge in this particular case. So let's talk about, okay, so this is the 1680s. You get accused of witchcraft. This is kind of a big deal, obviously. Now, 9-10 years later would be the whole Salem witchcraft trial. I believe it was 21 people ended up getting killed in that. All of them were hanged except for Giles Corey, who was pressed to death under stones, famously. This trial didn't quite go the same way, and I think that it's interesting. I found it very interesting just from from a cultural standpoint at the time, like why this trial didn't go the same way as the later one went on, because this one didn't really have the whole hysteria behind it. I feel like the whole Salem witch trial thing was just like these teenage girls, like everyone's a witch, 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 and then everyone started like accusing each other, and it turned into this whole like fucking feedback loop of everyone accusing other people to save their own ass and shit like that. Whereas you didn't really get that so much in this one, and I feel like maybe clearer heads prevailed. And I'm not saying that these people were smarter and like didn't believe that witches existed, because they totally did, but it didn't get to the point of this kind of, snowballing effect like you got in Salem. You know what I mean? Like I said, this was the only one in Pennsylvania as far as I know. So, as I said, so when we're talking about witch trial, let's kind of go back a little bit before we're talking about, what are you doing? Okay.
I'm doing what I do.
Dropping shit?
Yeah, shit dropped.
Do you know where Pookie is?
She just came in, said hi, and she left.
Oh, okay. I didn't see her. I didn't see her, like, open the door.
Hey, since you fucked up and just fucking stopped talking about the case, I want to say something real quick.
Okay, say what do you want?
The new Mandalorian episode that came out last night was fucking awesome. All right? Carl Weathers is in it. Gina Carino's in it.
Carl Weathers directed
it. And man, it was fucking, I think it was the best episode so far on the series.
It's my favorite so far.
It was an action episode. And fucking Carl was he was great in it. He was doing all kinds of cool shit. Shooting down TIE fighters from the fucking flying tank that I had when I was a little kid. The troop transport. All kinds of cool shit happens in it. They find out more about, I don't want to spoil it, but they find more about what they were doing with Baby Yoda, what they were trying to do there. Gina was looking fucking great, man. She looked fucking big, and she was fucking beating people's asses. And I love that fucking movie because it's not like they did with Blood Rain or with fucking, Resident Evil, where they take a pretty girl model and try to get you to believe she can fly around kicking people. No, they take a fucking girl who really can beat ass, and then they make her a star, just like they used to do with the old
That
actors.
makes me so happy to see that.
You're right, because that's what the old '80s action stars were.
Because she's like all buff and shit. That's
Carl was not pretending to be a badass. He was a badass. That was the same with fucking Arnold and all the other badasses from the '80s. You got to start off as a badass, and then you make a movie. And that's what they did with Gina. She already is a badass. Then she make a movie.
So they put her in a bed.
So she's totally
So when
believable.
she's like beating the shit out of people, you buy it.
You're like, yep.
Because
of course.
she
can do that. She does
she's
that.
as big or bigger than they are.
She's not that big, but she's she's the size of a big woman, but she fights for a living. So she can beat people's asses. And you buy it so much more than having that little red-headed Russian girl running around fucking kicking people in the face from Resident Evil. I mean, she's cute, that girl from Fifth Element.
I mean, unless you got magic powers or something, it's like
that's not reality.
Like a tiny, skinny little model girl is not going to kick a big 300-pound dude.
There's just not enough ass.
You're not big enough.
There's just not enough ass behind those fists. It's just not. You got to have some weight behind you to do that kind of shit. When you can pick somebody up off the ground, you're fucked. And that's what happens when you're a 120-pound little supermodel. The dude just picks you up. And then that's why children can't beat your ass, because you can pick them up. They can't punch hard enough. They're not fucking...
Because you can just pull them up by the hair and they would just be
well, part of a punch or a kick is actually pushing against the ground and into you. If you can pick somebody up, they're instantly weaker. They don't have the leverage. So... But Gina can beat people's asses, and they show her do it. You know what I mean? You go, yeah, she could do that. She does that shit. But what really fucking set me off last night was just being assured that Carl is on a fucking good project. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
his career.
He's doing all right.
His career fucking didn't just. Because man, I was a fan of Carl going back to the Action Jackson days. Remember Action Jackson?
Yeah.
They never did make a sequel to that.
No.
I didn't. But I liked that one, and fucking Predator 1 and everything. And he's not fading away. That motherfucker's getting better, and it just makes me feel good. Like maybe when I'm old, I'll be a bad motherfucker too.
Because he does look cool as an old man.
He looks cool.
I like
as an
the
old man.
beard. I gotta say.
Yeah, he looks good as an old man. He was good. He looked.
And
good,
I like that he's just like letting the beard be gray. He's just like, fuck it, I have a gray beard.
It's a great character.
It looks good.
Great character. And that series, I believe in the Mandalorian series. I don't like Disney. I didn't like those new Star Wars movies, but I didn't think they were authentic Star Wars. Even the prequels, they were kind of authentic, but I didn't like them as much as the originals. This is real Star Wars. I'm just saying. Mandalorian, that's real Star Wars. That's
tonally it is very...
That's Star Wars I grew up with.
And can we talk about... Baby Yoda wasn't in this one as much, but can we talk about the cookies?
Go ahead.
I mean, like I said, I don't want to spoil it for anybody. Right. But because Baby Yoda was only in it for a couple minutes, because he kind of got dropped off because he wasn't, he didn't want to, Mandalorian didn't want him to like be involved in all the like fighting and shit, so he kind of dropped him off somewhere. But it's very funny because he had like Baby Yoda had all these cookies, and then like later on, spoiler alert, he ended up like kind of puking them up because he ate too many. Yeah. And it was funny because the night before we watched that episode, Pookie had eaten too many treats and threw up next to her treat plate and was like very upset about it and was like telling Tom, it's like, look what happened. You have to give me new treats and you have to clean this up. It's like, I didn't mean to. Mm-hmm. So it's like, so I told her this morning when we were having Mommy Pookie time, I was like, it's okay. Like Baby Yoda also ate too many cookies and threw up. I want her to be like, that's like that's like her hero.
Tom sounds like my son. But even he thought twice when Boba showed up. Boba Fett didn't show up in, I don't know what she's talking about. That wasn't in The Mandalorian. And you got Tila talking about Action Jackson and fucking Vanity. Yeah, remember Vanity? Yeah, she was fucking, she was hot. Yeah.
One of Prince's.
Yeah, I wonder what happened to her. She's still around.
I don't know, actually. Anybody know what happened?
I saw Action Jackson in the theater and fucking loved it. and was.
I saw it on cable, I think.
I saw it in the theater. It was fucking awesome, and it was a '80s action movie, you know, like an Arnold Schwarzenegger type movie, and I was like, man, there's gonna be a sequel. Oh man, I can't wait for the sequel. It never came out.
Oh, she died.
Oh, she died?
Yeah.
Okay.
Vanity.
All right. Yeah, she was in the movie. It was good. I remember it being, I haven't seen it forever. I should get it and see it again. But I saw it in the theater and loved it. Yeah. Too bad. Too bad they never made another one.
Well, it's probably one of those things. I feel like every movie that did business, even back in the 80s, if it did like really good business, they started talking about doing a sequel right away. But it doesn't always work out, you know. It's like because shit gets like passed from studio to studio.
Yeah.
It's like they get funding, it falls through, blah,
They
blah.
say she died in 2016 of kidney failure.
Yeah. I didn't know that. Shit.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Okay.
What happened to is Apollonia still around or?
Yeah, I don't know. The Star Wars prequels should have been better. That's what fucking Roy said. Yeah.
They were all right.
Yeah, it was.
They were, like I said, I've said this before. I liked them better than the prequels. So
The prequels.
I really still.
The
do.
prequels were.
I still do not like the prequels, and I have given them so many chances. Like I watched them again like a year or two ago, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna like get rid of all my misperception. I'm gonna watch this, and I'm gonna find. And then like I watched them, and I still hated them.
I
still hated them.
I went on a rant one time about the prequels.
And you rant?
I went on a rant to the prequels one time, and Jenny was like, "Yeah, that's right," because I came up with the solution of what it should have been.
Well, you rewrote it in a way that I thought would be
it should have
good.
been. Vader and the fucking Jedi and the Republic and all this shit. It should have been a civil war between two groups that both thought they were right and both had evidence that the others were fucking traitors. Vader should have went out and hunted down the Jedi because he thought they were traitors. And then later, it should have been revealed to him that he had been duped. That they were actually the good guys and that he was on the wrong side. That's the way it should have been.
Are we the bad?
And then the guilt was used against him. That's how it should have been.
Well, that would have been a lot more cohesive.
And that was the way it was described by Obi-Wan. That Vader had hunted down the Jedi in the Jedi Civil War. Remember that's what he said in A New Hope. But there could have been a lot better. But I will say this. Somebody took those 3 movies and edited it down into 2 movies, and it's a lot better.
It is a lot better.
I watched it, and it was like, it's a lot better. There's some shit missing.
So hire that person.
Yeah, the problem was an edit problem more than anything else.
Like I said, editing is very underrated as a skill.
Yeah. But the 3 prequels can be edited.
Difference.
The 3 prequels can be edited into 2 movies, and that it works out a lot better.
Sheila Ann said, Tom, 2 episodes back, Boba Fett showed up at the end. He was the bald onlooker. It's the original actor, too.
I didn't notice it. Yeah,
I didn't either.
I didn't notice it.
Shit, man, I totally missed that. Now we have to go back and, like, watch him again. God damn it.
It's a good series. I like that series.
I do, too. And like I said, I think that as much as I love the first season, I think I'm liking this one more.
Yeah. Well, it gets back to the heart of what Star Wars was.
It's more monster-centric, which I like.
Star Wars was nothing but an East meets West fucking movie. It was Kurosawa and fucking spaghetti western put together. It was samurai and spaghetti western together in one movie. That's what Star Wars was. And that's what Mandalorian is. I mean, you know, I feel so much fucking spaghetti western in certain areas and other things, like 80s action. It's just that was the tone of the originals.
Well, like I said, you can see that Jon Favreau, the guy that he's the showrunner.
Yeah.
You know, he's the dude from Swingers and that guy.
Yeah.
But and he's in the Marvel movies. But he like really understood the essence of original Star Wars. It's essentially like a western, or like you said, like a samurai.
Samurai and western, and evidently, from what I saw last night, Carl understands what Star Wars is because he directed that. And that was spot on.
Yeah, like I said, I think this might have been my favorite episode.
I think
so
it
far.
was.
And that's saying something because I've really liked
it. Was
pretty much
he had the action right, the acting right, the story, the edit was perfect. There was never any fucking dead spots in the movie. The flow of that episode was great. I hope they let him direct a couple more episodes at least this season.
Well, and I'm telling you too that I think a lot of people complained, even going back so far as Return of the Jedi. People complained about too much cutesy shit because, you know, like the Ewoks and all this. Oh, you just did that for the toys and shit like that. But I think Mandalorian shows how you can do cutesy.
It's got to be right.
But you can do it correctly.
The timing has to be right. The fucking soundtrack, the visual cues and the audio cues, it has to be right. It has to fit in the tone. The original edit of Return of the Jedi, the audio cues were wrong, especially during the Ewok scenes. It was too lighthearted, too stupid. Remember how fucking crazy?
Yeah. It's weird because I guess I didn't notice it at the time, but when I watched it again later, I was kind of like, I still love Return of the Jedi, don't get me wrong, but I feel like a lot of shit that people complained about in the prequels and the sequels was also present in Return of the Jedi, and people kind of give that a pass.
Most versions of the Return of the Jedi that's out there now, though,
have all the extra shit, which
they have
fuck that.
They had some extra shit, but they also changed the soundtrack.
That too.
So it didn't have the fucked up Ewok music. All right. When the Ewoks are dying and they're playing kind of almost fucking cutesy music during it, it didn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
The tone was wrong.
But like I said, the nice thing about The Mandalorian is they have like funny shit and cutesy shit, but it works. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I could watch a whole fucking series about Baby Yoda doing Baby Yoda shit.
It was cutesy shit, but it was more realistic cutesy shit is the way it would be.
Well, he's just acting like a baby.
Yeah, just acting like a baby. The shit that was in the combat scene of the fucking of the Ewoks wasn't right. The sound, the music wasn't right for it. Also, some of the stuff that was happening on the sail barge was too fucking cutesy. This going back to the fucking. Hold on one second. Go to the restroom. You know the deal. Go ahead. Talk about the goddamn thing.
I'm talk about the goddamn thing. Sophie says one of your next special episodes needs to be a full-on no-topic episode. I know, right? It's like I feel like all of our episodes are no-topic episodes. Like I feel like we cover the shit, but it takes a while for us to get around to it because that's just how we roll. I'm sorry if you're new here and it's like you don't know like how it goes, but that's how it goes. So, okay, so while he's not here, and I can, talk about witchcraft for a second. So, going back to kind of, your original statutes about witchcraft. So, 17th century England, King James I, who very famously did, King James Bible, that was his version, and everything like that. In 1604, he wrote very specifically this, this kind of statute about witchcraft. So he says, and this is a quote, "An act against conjuration, witchcraft, and dealing with evil and wicked spirits, the penalty for practicing of invocation or conjuration, etc. Conjuration or invocation whereby any person is killed or lamed, declaring by witchcraft where anything is hidden, procuring unlawful love, etc." So, love potions. The second offense, felony, no forfeiture of dower or inheritance, trial of a peer of the realm. Now, this is an interesting statute because it doesn't necessarily, I feel like since Christianity became the kind of major, thing in law at the time, it has that whole thing from, I think it's from Exodus, thou shalt not suffer a witch or a sorceress or whatever to live. So death penalty was usually the thing. But this statute in particular, which is from 1604, seems kind of much vaguer. And I think that the shit that he said at the end about not forfeiting the inheritance or anything, I think that was something because prior to that, if you had got executed for witchcraft or what have you, the church or the state or whatever would take your shit, right? So I feel like the fact that they had that statute in 1604, I think that was almost kind of maybe encouraging other family members to narc on you for being a witch. Because they'd be like, well, they'd still get your stuff. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't a case of, well, grandma got executed for being a witch and the state took all her shit and we don't get anything. But now it's well, if grandma gets executed for a witch, we'll still get her shit. So yeah, she's totally a witch. We will totally fucking, testify against her, which is fucked up. But I feel like that was probably the impetus behind that. I could be wrong, but I'm a cynic, you know what I mean? So, now the thing about it though, and we talked about this a little bit on our Salem witch trial show, where there was kind of a thing where consorting with the devil, being as how it's something that's usually
had let pook out.
Why? She was like
She
complaining.
wanted to go outside. And I was like,
Look at you. He has two
yeah, man, I
oatmeal
got my
cream
little
pies.
Debbie's, bro. Little
He's
Debbie.
got oatmeal cream pies.
Little Debbie.
He has a
oatmeal cream.
whole. Last time he went to Sam's, he got like a whole big box of
I
those.
get a case of them.
Got a whole case of oatmeal cream pies. You're lucky I don't like those.
Well, they're
I'm
only
just
like $5 for $6 for a case. You might as well get a case. You know.
400 pounds later.
Well, you don't eat them all at once, you know.
Well, I don't.
Yeah. Man, they're good.
You're gonna in like 5 years. You're gonna be one of
There's
those
like a Southern
He's
classic.
gonna be like one of those people that can't get out of bed and they have to like use a forklift to like.
I don't give a shit.
He doesn't give a shit. Okay. Like
These
I
are
said,
beautiful.
I like a lot of Little Debbie's, but oatmeal cream pies for some reason even it seems to be like a lot of people's favorites.
it,
But
man,
I'm
try
just
it, try it.
no. I think because it's got like marshmallow in the middle. I'm not a big marshmallow fan.
It's free.
It's not free. You paid for those.
Well, you know, it's cheap.
I mean, I like oatmeal cookies.
Yeah.
But the oatmeal cookies on there are kind of mushy. And like I said, in the middle,
They're like
it's...
soft oatmeal cookies. Yeah, soft.
Nah, man. I like some oatmeal cookies with like some fucking
This is like some
heft.
high-class
I want
British.
some nuts and shit in there.
It's like some high-class British shit going back to the honky motherland in fucking UK.
Meanwhile, all the British are being
They're like,
like,
"What the fuck
don't
is
blame us for that. We don't have that shit. They don't have that shit over there.
I'm pretending.
I don't even think they have oatmeal.
They had
Like,
this shit. The Duke of Cornwall made this stuff. It was his recipe, special recipe.
Tom's history. Tom's revisionist history.
Went directly to Mississippi.
I don't even know. I mean, please, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was in the UK, I don't remember ever seeing, like, oatmeal cookies. I don't think that's a big thing over there.
No, that's an American thing, I think.
I think it's an American thing. Maybe not, but I feel like I didn't really see much of that over there. They don't have Little Debbie's for sure. But like I said, I'm not shitting on Little Debbie's. I love Little Debbie's. I love zebra cakes. I love peanut, like the Nutty Buddy things or whatever. I love those. I love the donut sticks even though you got to dip them in shit because they're kind of dry.
I'm talking about how good Rogue One was. Rogue One was good. I liked Rogue One.
I really liked Rogue One actually. Solo was okay too. Although
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Solo was good. I just feel like it was unnecessary.
Okay.
That's all.
I thought it was going to be
fine.
really bad. It wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't bad. It was
just
enjoyable.
kinda- yeah, it was
Like I
kinda
said, I
fun.
just didn't think it needed to be. That's not a story that really needed to be told.
I think I could have told it better how.
Well, they could have done. I mean, I feel like there were other, characters whose backstories would be more interesting.
They should have
I
told a
feel like
story
Han
about
Solo.
how he lost all that shit to fucking Jabba and how the price got put on his head. That's what they should have done.
Well, I mean, that could have been the whole movie.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
I feel like the only thing that about Solo, I just felt like it was too much fan service. They were just kind of like, hey, everything that he mentioned in Star Wars, we're gonna like explain all of that. I don't think they needed to do that. That's why I'm saying that's why I think it's unnecessary.
I don't remember them ever saying anything about the price on his head. And
Yeah,
how
they
he got-
didn't really go that much into that.
How he got in debt to Jabba.
I mean, they did a little bit, but not. I don't know. I just feel like it wasn't. That
It's
should have been.
bullshit.
That should have been the focus of the whole story. But Rogue One was actually really good because the thing about Star Wars was that at the beginning, like Leia has the plans, and you don't really know like the backstory behind how she got them or like where they came from or anything like that. So I feel like that was a good angle to explore, and that was like a really because man, I don't know if you guys saw Rogue One, but like fucking everybody dies pretty much.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, so I thought that was like a good story to tell. The Solo backstory, I just feel he doesn't really need a backstory. Like he kind of mentioned some shit, and that's fine. I don't think that really needed to be told. Like I said, I would rather see a backstory about Vader, but not him as a kid in the pod race and all that kind of crap. Like I said, I would rather watch what you said
yeah.
about him. Like, kind of discovering the dark side and, like, going to, like, the fucking Sith Lord shit. I would watch that.
I had this idea of a Darth Vader movie where he's already in the suit. He's enslaved to the Emperor. He's being kept alive by the Emperor through the fucking Force. He's actually kind of like a living corpse in a damn machine. All right? That's why he couldn't betray the Emperor. Because if he kills the Emperor, he dies. Okay? Because there's a lot of shit that was said. There's a lot of shit that was said in those movies that leads me to believe that the Emperor brought him back to life and was keeping him alive with the Force. I had an idea where it had a movie where Darth Vader would go out and he's fucking searching for fucking Sith relics and artifacts hidden in old Sith fucking temples.
That sounds like a good movie.
To try to find some shit.
That sounds like a good movie.
to locate ways of fucking stopping his dependency on the fucking emperor.
Or
Yeah.
Louis said somebody should have made a Lando movie.
Right.
Which also I would have watched that.
Yeah, that'd have been good. Depending on who they had playing him.
Because, I mean, they don't... Like, Lando doesn't have much of a backstory, so it'd be, like, really fascinating to look into his shit.
I would have made, like, an Indiana Jones movie that had Darth Vader. Him trying to find these relics.
See, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, he has to sneak away from the Empire.
Dark side,
Even has to
villains,
lie.
they're always more interesting. They're always more interesting.
He has to lie about where he's going to go to these fucking forgotten planets where the Sith used to be, and there's all these fucking ruined temples, and he's got to get down in there and find some stuff, and then he talks to Sith ghosts that tell him shit. All kinds of shit would have happened. That's how I would have wrote it.
See, you could have made it like almost like a straight up horror movie.
Yeah, it'd have been a horror movie, basically.
Yeah. See that?
He'd have been dealing with
I'm into
Sith
that
ghosts that told him shit, and then he'd have to fucking turn Sith ghosts, like exorcising Sith ghosts to get his hands on some shit, and it would have been a big mind fuck.
Yeah. See, I'd watch that.
Where a Sith ghost almost tries to possess him in one part. You know what I mean? I would have had it come up with all kinds of weird, paranormal, fucking scary shit.
Michael Schaefer says you should read the book The Rise of Vader.
I've never read it. No.
So maybe that's something
that's
along the lines of what you're talking about.
It would have had a bunch of paranormals and occult stuff in it.
See, I think that would have made that'd been really good, I think. Although, like I said, I did like Rogue One because I liked that they kind of went into that shit and it was like bleak.
Yeah.
Like not bleak because it turned out kind of okay because you know how the next movie goes. Yeah. But I liked that they showed like the sacrifice that led up to that. You know what I mean? I liked that they went there. That was cool to me.
And it was like
a war movie.
We got to get on with the show, Jenny.
We're talking about witchcraft.
This ain't a Star Wars show. Everybody's talking about Star Wars.
Sophie said that we should do a no topic show on one of these days. Just
shit, that'd go on forever.
It would. But we would just be there yapping forever.
Looks like people are actually leaving the chat because we're talking about Star Wars too
much.
much.
Yeah. Well, like I said, okay, so...
We can't say fuck them, but, you know...
Well, I'm not going to say that.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like, people have free will. They can they can leave if they want. They can come back later.
Share, and subscribe.
They can skip through the shit.
Hit the like button, people. Hit the like button.
They can skip through the shit. I don't
care.
I'm too old to care about that kind of crap. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to manage the shit. I'm going to get another drink here in a bit.
Oh, you're still on your first one?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on my second one. So, as I said, I was talking a little bit about, like, we went into this some on the Salem witch trial show. But I was talking about how in the early 17th century, 1604, King James, and he kind of came up with the whole, thing about witchcraft and how he made it okay for if somebody got executed for witchcraft, like their family would still get their shit. And I said that it was probably because they wanted like the relatives to like testify against them. That's just my cynical brain talking. But as I said, we're talking about spectral evidence, which was kind of a big thing in the Salem witch trials, where that was something that was allowed because I guess the rationale was that since the devil could pretty much do anything or make you believe anything, like even make somebody look like they were innocent, that any kind of like spectral evidence, quote unquote, that you had of like supernatural kind of shenanigans was okay. So I feel like they gave a lot of leeway in witchcraft situations, which they wouldn't give necessarily in another type of trial, because, as I said, their reasoning was, well, the devil can like bewitch people and he can make people, say certain things and make them look like they're innocent, or they can, they can deceive people or whatever. So I think that they gave the courts and whoever was prosecuting witchcraft like a lot of leeway in saying, well, pretty much whatever is all right. Like, I think that was one of the things that was kind of like the impetus for all of the horrible shit that happened, because anything went pretty much, you know what I mean? So, it got to a point where pretty much just somebody accusing you of witchcraft was enough to like get you put in fucking jail. You would get tortured because they thought that that was a good way of extracting information, and not just a way of like getting you to say what they wanted you to say just to get you to stop doing what you were doing. So they basically said, and this is a quote from a particular, thing that came out back then, that if the quote was, if there was any likelihood and suspicion and common fame, like if a lot of people said you were a witch, that was proof enough, quote unquote. So that's pretty much all you had to do, was like bring in a bunch of people like, yeah, I heard that person was a witch. And that was all you needed to say, which is terrifying. So, another thing, like I said, I'm taking a lot of the information from this one particular, long article, because this was, the most substantive shit that I could find in this particular case, because, like I said, this is a much lesser-known case. He says, and I quote, this kind of made me laugh in a weird way, enhanced interrogations were encouraged. Enhanced interrogations meaning torture, obviously.
Yeah.
And if the shit about it was that they tortured you, but then if you confessed, then you were in trouble. But if you didn't confess, you were also in trouble, because then they would just burn you or hang you anyway.
Continue to torture you.
Or continue to torture. So it was it was lose-lose. It was lose for everybody. So it's kind of frightening how reason didn't really prevail in this whole fucking time period. And like I said, that's kind of something we talked about when we talked about the Salem witch trials. So their reasoning was, they're like, look, witchcraft is something that is conducted in secret. So, ergo, you don't have any witnesses to it. So just the fact that somebody heard somebody saying that maybe you were doing some witchcraft shit, that was enough to at least bring you in and get you tortured and shit. And like I said, once you were brought in for torture, you're pretty much hosed either way. Because if you confessed, you were in trouble, and if you didn't confess, you were also in trouble.
I was always under the impression that the whole witchcraft thing was bullshit. I think, okay, when you go back and you look at the motives of what people did from other eras, and they would do some crazy shit. But if you were actually to read into the culture of the time, a lot of time it made sense. A lot of the crazy shit they did made sense during those days. It's just that there were ulterior motives behind what they were doing.
Well, I mentioned that earlier when I was talking about that book I read.
I think a lot of times the witchcraft thing was a convenient way of getting rid of people you didn't like. And then they could make a bunch of money off of it.
I'm not saying they didn't believe in witchcraft, though, because I totally believe they did.
I think some people did, but
most people did,
I think the people that had the ability to start a huge witch trial were also the same people that were able to profit off of it. And it was a way
they weren't going to question it too much.
And they were going to get rid of their enemies. So I think what it was it was a sham. They're like, look, we got this old woman. She's living out there when nobody really don't like her. She's,
Well, and she's got some land we kind of want.
Yeah, we want that land, and she needs to go. You know what I mean? Fucking, she's
not
old.
doing anybody any good.
Right.
Let's go ahead. She's weird.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of her, and I'll make a couple grand, and my buddy will come in, and he'll make a couple grand. And we'll whip everybody up. We'll have a big fucking festival and sell a bunch of food during her fucking execution. It'll be great. That's what I think. That's what I think. That's what I think it was.
This is why
once she's gone, I'll be able to go in there and buy the land, and fucking you'll get it in discount, and I'll buy the land with the money that I rose from fucking killing her. You know what I mean? From these food.
I think in a lot of cases, that's kind of what it was.
I think it was more about that. Because when you look at their methods of investigation and their methods that they use to prove things, even a person of the 1600s and the 1500s would know that that's bullshit. They weren't stupid. I know they weren't stupid. Because a lot of the other shit that they did made perfect sense. I think what it was is more than anything else, they were evil. That's what I think it was. They were just evil.
Well, yeah, they were just looking out for number one.
They were looking out for number one, and they had ways of doing it. They're playing on the prejudices and the fucking fears and the superstitions.
And as I mentioned earlier, they're going after people that are essentially powerless.
Yeah. It was kind of like a fucking eugenics. You know what I mean? These are single women. They're old. They've outlived their usefulness, and they're on land that we need.
Like I said, and they're weird. This is why I would never invent a time machine. If I went back to this time period, I would be burned as a witch in within 5 seconds.
Oh yeah,
big time.
Well, that also kept everybody.
Because I can't keep my mouth shut.
It kept everybody in line. If you fucking said some shit against the power structure, you were dead. All right, and the power structure was a bunch of judges and a bunch of churches. in this era, in that place. And I think they knew they were full of shit. It's just that they didn't want to give up power. Would you?
Some of them did.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I feel like some of them did know that it was bullshit. And I kind of want to go into that a little bit too, because of the way that this trial in particular turned out, and like some things that William Penn said like during the trial. I feel like though that the main thing was that there was a danger if you came forward and said, hey, this is bullshit, there's no such things as witches, or I don't think this particular person is a witch, then you would get accused of being a witch. I think that's one thing that happened in Salem that kind of like contributed to the whole snowballing effect, was that anybody that came forward and said, hey, like, I don't think this is cool, would, I mean, well, you must be a witch too. And then they'd be like, well, fuck me.
Yeah, but, you know, there was some shit that I read a long time ago. I haven't researched this recently, but I remember during one of these little fucking witch fucking panics where a lot of it had to do with your personal charisma too. They descended on, I remember in one case, they descended on some attractive young woman, and they were getting ready to accuse her of a witch, and a witch hunter stuck a needle in her, all right? And she didn't react, and they said, well, that means she's a witch. And a well-known, very respected military militia officer stood forward and said, wait a minute, he says, can you do that to anyone, and will they not react? And he made that witch hunter put that same needle into another person. I think it was the judge.
It's like, you got any moles,
and he
dude?
he didn't react.
Let's see that shit.
So the court threw that out, that particular one. All right, so he saved.
Well, plus she was young and cute.
She was young and cute. And
if she
saved
was old
that
and
woman.
mentally ill
it would
and
have
ugly,
been very different.
then everyone would have been like, fuck that.
Right,
Kill
they
it.
let that one go.
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of it had to do with charisma. So then the witch hunter turns on what? An old woman.
Of course.
Because she's not married.
We need to kill somebody, damn it.
And then
where's the
he
ugly
starts
lady?
doing these hokey fucking tests on her, and then that military officer did not stand up to protect her.
Of course he didn't.
Right, but was he a coward? No, I think he was wise. Because what would have happened is the witch hunter would have started turning on that fucking officer, and they would have killed him. They would eventually proved him as being a witch.
Well, that's
So
kind of, was kind of their thing.
So you were just lucky to save a couple of people.
Like I said, you were safe sticking up for somebody that was like young and hot.
Yeah, right.
But you stood up for some crazy old lady.
Right.
Yeah, that wasn't happening.
That kind of fucking...
Then you'd get fucked too.
That kind of goes back to what I was saying. A lot of it had to do with your charisma and who you were. And what value you were to the society. A good-looking young woman, single, no. She would be easy to save.
She could still have babies.
She'd be easier to save. That was So they started to focus on people that were not easy to save. The people who were past their prime. The people who were not married. The people, you know what I mean? The
who
people
looked weird.
Yeah, people who were disposable. So I think deep down, during all this shit, most of the people knew it was bullshit. But they were scared to death.
Well, yeah, everybody. So you would never know nowadays, because I feel like most of the people that knew it was bullshit, they're like, well, I'm not going to say anything because I'm going to get my ass killed. And it's like they were illiterate, so they didn't write anything
just
down.
Like Twitter today. You know what I mean? Fucking people accusing everybody on Twitter of certain things that you can't prove or disprove. You jump in the Twitter mess, you're going to get fucked up. It was like that back then.
Mango said, didn't they go after midwives also? Yeah, that was another big thing in that book I read. I can't remember who wrote it, but it was called The Devil in the Shape of a Woman, I think was the name of it. It was like an older book. I got it from the library like years and years ago. And that was kind of like what the author was saying, that a lot of the women that were chosen, not only like kind of marginalized women in the sense that they were older, they were, either poor, or they had shit that other people wanted, or they were mentally ill, or, or they talked too much, or they were too outspoken or whatever. But midwives were another big demographic that was targeted. Sure, like a lot of people didn't really trust them.
Well, the midwives a lot of times were older women who weren't married, so then there you go, disposable. Right. Disposable.
Exactly. They're like, well, you can't have babies and you don't have a man to protect you, so nobody. Yeah, and that's shitty. But
most of the time, not every time, but most of the time, they seem to go for that town's most vulnerable. That's who they were going for.
Well, yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Well, it's the easiest thing to do.
It's the easiest one because there's difficult, and it doesn't disrupt the town.
Yeah,
as
because
much.
everybody hates that bitch anyway. Right. She crazy, she's weird, whatever.
Fucking the Salem was actually sticks out as an anomaly because it was a bunch of young people and a bunch of valuable people that were being killed, and it really didn't stop until the judge's wife got accused, and then we gotta shut this
once
shit
it got to a particular point where actually powerful people were being
we gotta
accused.
Shut that shit down. Right.
That all started because of some in the same way it started with kind of some privileged teenage girls, which, like I said, women were not super valuable, but teenage girls were valuable in the sense that they would be someone's wives someday and would reproduce and whatever. So it's like I feel like they were maybe given a lot more leeway and their parents were important people also. So if they said, hey, this ghost of this old hag in the town that nobody likes is like poking me and putting curses on me and shit, it's like no one's going to question that.
Yeah, Louis brought that up. It was either the governor's wife or the judge's wife.
Yeah, it was something like that.
It was somebody powerful's wife got accused, and then we got to shut this down.
Okay,
that's it. Okay,
let's
no
stop
more,
this, please.
No more fucking witch hunts. Yeah.
As long as we were just killing Haitian slave women and older ladies and stuff, that was fine. But not the upper class white chicks. Oh no! Right. And then everybody's like, then we have to stop doing it. So you can just see.
No one with a powerful rich husband. No, you're never
right. That's exactly.
Yeah. It wasn't the women; it was the husbands that they worried about.
Well, yeah, because nobody. I mean, this is horrible to say,
a
but
woman
it's
was
true.
only worth what her husband was.
Yeah, a woman was not considered like a full person. I mean, they couldn't vote, they couldn't own property, they couldn't do anything. They were just like an adjunct. Yeah.
Now, I gotta fucking set some shit straight here, though. We're talking about religious colonies. This is before the United States. This is all. This is fucking 1600s. All right.
Well, yes, colonial.
During that time, that wasn't really the case with women. Say later, fucking secular women, women that were white women that were in Indian tribes, which that was far more common than people realize.
Well, like I said, you can't blame them considering the.
Lots of white people went Injun is what they called it.
I totally would have done that.
Yeah, hell yeah. You did not.
It would have been so much better.
You did not want, if you were in the New World, you did not want to live in the Anglo or European lifestyle or culture during that time. It was bad. It was very religious, very restrictive.
Nope, I'd have run away from there screaming.
Crazy ass rules. There was no such thing as a U.S. Constitution or human rights or anything. They were theocracies.
Like I said, I'd have been accused of a witch of within a couple of minutes, and I just run off and join the Native Americans.
The United States Constitution was heavily influenced by Native American culture. The whole concept of
the European Enlightenment. Also.
Yeah, and the European Enlightenment,
particularly France.
But the whole idea of tribal democracies and different and ideas of rights and things was actually kind of it was the Enlightenment, but it was also they were seeing it confirmed in Native American lifestyles. In the United States, fucking really your social status and what your birth and royal blood, none of that made a bit of fucking difference. Those fuckers still starved. You had to get it like you live in the United States. You had to go out and fucking work and get some fucking food and shoot some animals and plant some crops and fucking find. You actually had to do shit. You couldn't just lay back and fucking get some gold from the king because you had noble birth. That didn't work here. You had to be practical. America was about practicality. That's what it was about. And survival skills and talent. America always recognized talent. That's really... And when it wasn't recognizing talent, it was America betraying its own fucking values, and that took centuries for the shit to work itself out.
I always thought to myself that the Native Americans must have thought it was hilarious because they'd been living here for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah.
When the Europeans first came and probably expected there to be fucking, I don't know, Holiday Inns or some shit. Not the equivalent of Holiday Inns back then. They were just kind of wait, what do you mean? We have to fucking...
Well, you look at Roanoke and some of the early colonies, they failed because there wasn't a government structure to tell them what to do. They were used to that back in Europe. those colonies vanished, a lot of them. It took a couple times to get them to actually. They didn't know where they go. Well, they all went Indian. They joined Indian tribes. It was the easy.
Like I said, I feel like I would have done that as
There
well.
was no agricultural
Seems
base.
like the best prospect at the time.
Yeah. And you fucking read John Smith and Miles Standish and all those guys. They fucking wrote about, and even like Sacagawea and the guys later on that went and explored the West. They all wrote about those Indian tribes. They were all different. They were all different nations. They knew their shit, man. They were on top of the fucking game, and they were at the top of the food chain in the American continent. You couldn't live the 1600s, 1500s European way in the in America.
Well, it was a completely different.
It wouldn't work. There was no infrastructure.
Climate.
For it.
It was a completely, like you said, there was no infrastructure here. There was no.
Yeah.
It just wasn't. It wasn't remotely the same.
Squanto was an Indian who came back from Europe. He went to. There were Indians in Europe. That's another thing that people don't understand. Indians went to Europe.
Yeah.
Okay. Boats would take them. And then they'd go back to fucking John Smith. Fucking met Squanto. Squanto had just come back from Europe. He says, "Yeah, my people got wiped out in a plague." And fucking, he was telling his people, his tribe, about Europe and stone buildings. They didn't believe him.
They're like, what?
They're like, "What? No way."
You're
yeah.
high.
So Squanto was the shit. Fucking and John Smith was the shit. And well, I don't know where I was going with that. Of course, I'm drinking. It's just that
He loves to try to thought. What Squanto? What?
Yeah. America was a mixture of all these different ways of doing things, and it took centuries for it to work out. But for you people who are not Americans, we got people back in the honky motherland, going all the way back into Romania listening to us. We got fucking
motherland.
Nosferatu listening to us. The thing that was the main force behind Americanism was just practicality. That's all it was.
Well, it had to be.
You had to be very practical.
Louis says
Idealism and ideology didn't work too much here. It was just shit that worked. Shit that actually put food on the table is what rose to the top in America.
Yeah, it's like, are you guys just going to do this Jesus-y shit, or are we just going to, like, go get some food?
Right, exactly.
Like, I don't have time for this bullshit right now.
And a lot of the success... A lot of the success of America has a lot to do with the Native American nations that were here before. There's a lot of mythology about how that shit went down. Most of it was admixture. Most white people and Indians marrying each other was really the main thing that went on for a long time. White women running off to join fucking Indian tribes. Very
like I
common.
said, can't blame them.
Yeah, fucking white dudes. And the Seminole Indians here in Florida, fucking Jackson was pissed at him because he says, how can they call themselves Indians? They're all Irish.
Well, they're mixed.
They were mixed, right? Yeah, they were all mixed.
It's largely mixed.
They were mixed. They
Native
were mixed.
American and European.
Native American and European, which is Irish and Spanish, and they were also Africans. Black people were also in the Seminole Nation, and they were all breeding together. And the Seminole Nation also had slaves, which was weird when you think about it. They had African slaves, even though some of the Seminole slaveholders were black too. It wasn't really a in that particular. The Seminoles were weird. It was like a Mad Max tribe.
Yeah, it's like a conglomeration.
It was a conglomeration
kind of like.
And they were working as mercenaries for the Spanish Empire, not the British Empire. They flipped later. They changed sides to the American side.
The history of the Seminole Indians is like, because Florida and Seminole Indians are like very intertwined, but it's really fascinating.
I hear these kids talk about Native American history, and they're using broad generalizations. Each Native American nation had its own history and its own destiny, and they were all very different. It's like you couldn't compare them. Like you couldn't compare England to Romania. They're both European, but there's nothing.
Well, and it's the same thing. Native American tribes, they were all completely different nations.
Right, exactly. And they were even more diverse than Europe or Africa. Even more diverse in terms of culture.
There was all kind of different.
Yeah, there was just lots of them.
It's just
and
sad.
And they weren't all the same race.
Well, yeah.
Some of them were kind of more like the Aztecs. Other ones were kind of more like Clovis people, which were part Irish people that walked across ice shelves. Some of them might have even had, for all we know, they know that some of them kind of had Chinese-style ancestry, possibly Russian-type stuff mixed in there too. There's just no telling. They were not all the same ethnic group. They weren't all the same race.
I do feel like a lot of Native American tribes had a lot of Asian DNA.
Yeah.
Well, because they were descended from Asians that walked across the ice shelf.
Right. And there was also not all this fucking genocidal fucking hatred. That's all bullshit too, because if you go back to the 15, 16, 1700s literature that white people wrote about the Indians, it was nothing but just damn fucking man crush. All they did was just talk about how much stronger they were and how much better looking they were. And
at least back then they knew that the Native Americans were better.
Talking about how fucking how badass the Mohawk were and and other stuff. So there wasn't any of this weird fucking anti-Indian sentiment until the very late 1800s.
Well, that was a later development.
It was way, way late. That was at the end of the Indian era, or the Native American era. And those were just the very few holdouts. The rest of them had all married white people and gotten jobs and shit by that time.
Yeah, a lot more racial mixing.
And that was generations before. Generations. So for generations, you go back into any of our DNA, our families have been here for centuries. You go back into any of our DNA, you're going to find Native American DNA in there.
Well, mine's only
you're
three.
You're definitely, right?
Mine's only 3. My great-grandparents were Native Americans.
And that happened for a reason.
The hunters.
The Mandan
they were Blackfeet Indians.
The Mandan nation went extinct because they married white people. They all got married. They were
my mom's side is English, Irish, but my dad's side is Native American.
Yeah.
Like I said, my great-grandparents, who I knew my great-grandmother, my great-grandfather fucked off before I was born. Yeah. He took off. But but they were Native Americans.
And then you can go back to the mid-1800s and some of the early part of the 1800s and look at photos of the American Army down in Texas, and they're all Indians. A lot of people don't know that. They're wearing American uniforms. There were whole divisions of American cavalry, and they were all Indians.
Well, like I said before, history is always more shaded.
Yeah, it's a lot more varied than people think it is.
Like, I understand, like, when you're in school, for example, and they have to teach you like, I took a fucking class in high school. I was thinking about this the other day. World history. How the fuck can you cover that in 9 months? Good luck with that. Yeah. But and honestly, the world history class, it was mostly European history, I gotta say. Like a little bit of African and Asian like sprinkled in there, but it was mostly European history. But even then, it's like, how are we gonna cover? I feel like all we covered was wars. Like the major wars, but you didn't like cover all like the interesting shit. Like wars are interesting, but I always find this is why I really like. One of my favorite genres of nonfiction books, I know this is kind of like I said, like kind of off topic, but one of my favorite genres of nonfiction books is a history of something that I never thought about having a history. One of my favorite nonfiction books ever, this is totally weird, you guys, was called The Perfect Red, and it was about the beetle that they used to like crush up to make that particular shade of red dye, which was like super popular, like in the and it was like a huge fucking trade thing because that was everybody wanted this particular dye like for their thing because it was like this big, it was like a really like a really expensive commodity. And the history of that, the history of coffee beans, like all kind of stuff, because it ties into like all these other kind of kind of cultural things that you don't think about. I love that kind of shit because everybody can like learn about, the, wars and all that kind of shit. Like you learn about that in school. I love like all the kind of little details that kind of like inform the larger history, like, or kind of like cast light upon a larger history. Like I said, if you read a book about like the history of coffee beans, if you look upon a history of like salt or a history of like I said, the cochineal beetle or whatever it is that had that that made that particular red dye. If you look into that, the history of that, it casts like this huge, it's like a tiny little thing, but it casts like this huge fucking spotlight on this particular like cultural aspect of history that you never like thought about. I love that that's like my favorite genre of nonfiction.
And when you're talking about witches and witch paddocks, I like to go to fucking Salem a lot. All right. When I was living in Boston, I went to the Salem Witch Trial Museum and did the tour, saw the fucking where all those people were buried, and the fucking the old town of Salem, part of it is still kind of there. The buildings, I don't know if they're recreations of the buildings or if they're the actual buildings, but You can check for yourself. One of the big misconceptions in the Salem witch trial, these are all fucking lily white fucking people from fucking England or something. You know what I mean? No, not at all. The only people in the town of Salem during that witch panic that you would say were white people, okay, like as white as me, would have been like the judge and his wife and a couple of people that were just pretty much new over here from England. The rest of them were all mixed. They were all mixed with Native Americans. Native Americans, and there were some Africans in there too. Tituba, I think, she was African.
Tituba, she was Haitian, I think.
Yeah, the Haitians came from Africa, you know. So, but it was because when men showed up, when men showed up here from Europe during this period, there weren't enough women.
I promise.
Women didn't come with them for the most part. It was a fucking difficult.
Well, yeah, because they're like, fuck that.
Like, fuck that.
What, I have to be on a boat for 2 months? Nope.
So they married Native American women that were here, and you know the whole Salem thing. They had been here for a couple generations. They were already all part Indian, and in that same period also there were Christian Indian nations, which is something that blows a lot of people's mind. By the time fucking 1800 had rolled around, a lot of the Indians were Christian.
Well, as I said, like. There's nothing, and as I said, I understand that, like, if you're in a history class in, like, high school or whatever, they have a lot of ground to cover. They have to simplify things to a degree. But that's why I always found it really instructive to read histories that are based on, like, a little thing, because you get, like, all this fucking... That's why I found this particular case, even though, spoiler alert, no one got hanged in this particular case... But even that was very interesting to me because it said something about not only the Pennsylvania colony, it said something about the Quakers.
Yeah.
And how, you know, they had been persecuted in England and then they came over here to escape persecution because of their beliefs and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it was this whole thing. And it's like, when you look into these smaller cases, it really like casts light on like the larger history. Like, so I always like find that kind of shit really fascinating.
The reason why you have the United States right now is about 60% Caucasian as it is right now. It's mostly, that was the repercussions of Irish immigration in the late 1800s. And
a lot of Irish came over.
Just flooded with Irish. And they just bred like cockroaches like the fucking Irish do.
Sorry,
and that's how I was created. But they were mixed in with the people that were already here before.
My mom's side of the family is Irish too.
Yeah. And so, you know what I mean? But when you're talking about this era of American history, the people looked a lot different. Not as white as you think. Which is quite surprising when you think about it. Because that's not the way they're going to show it to you in a movie.
I kind of feel like our history is more like Australia's history.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's kind of like there was like an Aboriginal people that were there, then a bunch of white people came and like
and then there were successive
waves of other white people. There was like a lot of interbreeding and then like always. So I always feel like that's why I kind of feel like Australia is kind of like the other United States. Yeah. In a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, over here there's a lot more people though. A lot more people.
True, but I mean, culturally, it seems more similar.
The situation was more similar.
It seems like their historical situation is a lot more similar to ours than Europe is. Yeah. Because we had like such a large indigenous population that were
that was there for
sometimes
a while.
Displaced, sometimes like integrated. Sometimes
what happened to the Indian nations? Each one had their own destiny, but for the most part, even when. In the 1500s, when the Spaniards showed up into Mexico, a plague fucking went throughout the entire Americas and wiped out most of the North American Indians. That was even Squanto said that. He said that his whole tribe was wiped out by a plague, and he didn't understand what had happened. But that was a Spanish plague.
Fucking bringing germs from Europe, y'all.
Then the survivors of that plague, it was kind of post-apocalyptic, and then waves of European immigrants came in and bred in with most of those. Until the late 1800s when you had telegraphs and fucking railroads, and that was the end of the Indian lifestyle. And that's where you started to hear all this stuff about putting people into reservations and shit like that. But that was only some of them. During that
Yeah, I
same
feel like
period, a lot of them were joining the U.S. Army.
I mean, I'm
and
not
just getting
saying
jobs.
racism hasn't been a thing since forever, but I feel like the really hardcore
came and
racism
went.
that people are talking
Yeah.
about nowadays, that was kind of like an Industrial Revolution thing.
Yeah, there was a later advent. Before that time, racism wasn't that bad. It was usually just something that kind of came and went at certain times and in certain places between certain people.
Because
it was not a constant.
Well, prior to that, you were kind of like you said, it was more like a method of like a thing of practicality. Like,
Yeah.
look, there's no women
So you have
that
to
are
marry
white,
somebody.
so you
Yeah.
have to marry somebody. It's like it doesn't matter if she's a different
Yeah.
way. She's a person. She's a woman. It's fine. Like whatever.
And when you go back into the writing, both the white men and the white women are choosing to live with Indians and saying that they were better looking.
I feel like that was probably the
Yeah.
case.
You had white men saying, man, them Indians are better looking than us. They're stronger and bigger. I mean,
I love that white men of that time were able to
Yeah.
man up and admit that.
Well, we don't know who we're talking about.
They're
Okay.
like, look at, like, we're so pasty and
What?
and fat, and like, look at these
I don't
hot
think that's.
motherfuckers.
I don't think.
They're running around in the forest getting sun.
That's
and
not
shit.
what they said, though.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
That's not what they
I'm
were
saying.
What Smith was saying is he said that the Native Americans had better clothes, breeches, and it was all fucking leather.
Well, like I said, they'd been
And
living
they
here for
were
thousands of
and
years.
that
They had their shit
yeah,
together.
That they were stronger, and that muskets and shit were useless against them. That they used things like fucking war clubs, and they had bows that were silent, and that they were raised in the field. And so what they're telling me is they're telling the white guys that were going there were suburban in nature at that time. So you're not talking about guys that were farmers who were fucking,
Well,
real
they were
strong.
largely city
They
dwellers.
were skinny little dudes. That's who.
Like I said, they were pasty.
They're pasty, skinny, little fucking suburban, urban type guys.
They weren't used to like
They weren't used
living
to that shit.
outdoors,
Right.
fishing,
Right.
hunting.
And then all of a sudden they go into this culture where everything's wide open. You're mobile. You know what I mean? Fresh air, fresh, clean water. You're not worried about a fucking polluted water system and wells or anything. You're living off the land. You don't have to worry about sexual repression. They were evidently the Indians were pretty open about things, you know what I mean?
Well,
And
then
it was more of a natural camping type lifestyle.
Well, and like I said, I'm not going to say like because all the Indian nations were different, but a lot of them were, as someone mentioned earlier, matrilineal, or they were more like egalitarian, I guess.
It was more about how much value you had as a person.
Right.
Could you?
It wasn't so much, are you a dude, are you a
Right.
woman? If you could like do something to contribute to the community, it didn't
Right.
really matter. As
That's
much.
true. Although they had strong gender roles, though. Don't look at it that way. You know what I mean? They did have strong gender roles. The women worked. They did shit.
Well, yeah.
But the men did fight. They did hunt, and you know what I mean. They were macho. It was, by all accounts of the people that saw them, it was a cool time. It was a very cool time, and I can imagine it, having lived in the field myself, as an army. It was an army type lifestyle. It produces a certain kind of person, between an army and a fucking Daryl Dixon, Merle Dixon type shit going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna produce a certain kind of strong individual.
Sure.
You know, that's what they're talking about. You're not talking about some dude come from suburbia or some fucking. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, that's the thing, and I'm not shitting on people that have just like through no fault of their own.
Who else is going fucking leather pants, man? The shit's sexy. They're talking about fucking Mad Max. They're talking about Wes from Mad Max. His ass coming out of the
leather
fucking,
chaps.
his
Huh?
ass coming out of the G.
Well, you need like the breeze like blowing through. But well, that's the thing. It's like anybody, like I said, through no fault of their own, have been raised in, cities where they don't really go outside. They're not in nature. They don't have to hunt or fish. They have all their things done for them. It's just kind of like, if you were brought up like that, it's not your fault. I mean, your parents brought you up like that. But when you come over here and we don't have any of these huge cities, in Central South America they did because of the Mayans and shit.
Ken's saying that the natives respected the land and the white man didn't. No, I'm going to say you're wrong. During this period of the 15, 16, 1700s, the white man also respected the land. What you're talking about...
You better respect it, because it will kick your ass.
You're talking about the end of that era during the fucking Industrial Revolution, where you had trains going everywhere, and they're fucking shooting buffalo out the fucking train window for fun.
Which...
Leaving fucking buffalo... they didn't understand fucking ecology, or they didn't value that kind of shit.
Obviously.
But luckily that didn't last for very long. Couple decades, and people fucking stopped that shit. A lot of the fucking bad shit that the white man did during that period was temporary. You could only act a fool for only so long before you go, dude, we're fucking this shit up, man. Stop shooting the fucking buffalo. The buffalo pretty much went... The buffalo herds were fucking wiped out. Because they want to put cows there instead.
Yeah, good job.
But they did not fucking drive the buffalo extinct. They're out there. People, you know what I mean? They're raising them for food. They're not extinct. They're on farms.
Well, they're just...
But you can't have buffalo herds running around like they used to. There's too many houses. There's fucking roads now. You know, just shit changed. You can't live in the 1800s forever. Not with the population we have.
Yeah, there's too many of us.
There's too many people. And, you know, if you want to take it on yourself to go kill all these people, and go ahead. But, you know, it's not going to work.
Although, I got to say, I mean, the United States is a very large country, and there are very large tracts of the United States in which not that many people live, or no people live.
Yeah. And a lot of people...
I think people don't, like, realize how fucking massive this fucking country is.
And here's another thing. There used to be a time where prairie dogs fucking had all of the Southwest. We're talking about 4 or 5 states. Witnesses said that all 4 or 5 of those states was one big prairie dog fucking nest, and ferrets eating them.
And the prairie dogs were probably like, woo, man,
we
got like so
everywhere.
much fucking room.
And they killed off most of the prairie dogs because they kept breaking cows' feet, because their feet would go into the damn holes. Yeah. So it was a different ecology back then. But we should probably move on. We're getting fucking bogged down in cool stories about the past.
He's telling me about that shit.
Yeah. Sexy motherfuckers in leather pants running around. Fucking Ilsa's going, yeah, I like sexy motherfuckers with pants running around. Leather pants, yeah.
Tom's getting excited about it.
I'm not getting excited about that shit. I'm straight as fuck.
Okay.
You okay? Whatever, Jenny.
He's trying to be all like defensive about it. Shut up, I'm straight. All right. So...
He's so funny.
Okay, so one of my favorite things that I came across when I was researching witchcraft statutes from this time period was, as I mentioned earlier, because witchcraft was largely believed to be like, that was something that you didn't witness firsthand. And that was kind of like the big thing in courts then. You had to be like fucking witness it firsthand. So this was something that was presumably done in secret, so no one was witnessing it. So they gave you a lot of leeway in like what kind of evidence was permitted. So at a witchcraft trial, and this is a fucking quote from the shit, of what was like considered to be okay evidence. And this would never fly nowadays, but I'm just telling you. So if a person that was brought before the shit, like brought before a judge accused of witchcraft or similar, they were allowed, and this is a quote, if his parents, if they were wicked, were given to the same kind of fault, i.e., if his parents had also been accused of being weirdos or being like witches or whatever, his nature, if civil, if hasty, witty and subtle, a quarreler, a pilferer, a bloody-minded. So somebody that was kind of like, maybe would take your wallet, maybe was kind of like argumentative, totally sufficient to be like brought up on charges of witchcraft. So, you know, his trade, for if a man liveth idly or vagrant, if you're a bum, if you're unemployed, again, witch, it's a good cause to arrest him upon suspicion. So they could arrest you if you were just unemployed. So there's another thing. His company with any of the offenders, obviously, if any other people accused of witchcraft were like buddies of his, then that was also suspicious. His course of life, if a common alehouse haunter, if he hung out in bars, which, again, I'd be in huge trouble. Riotous in diet, I think is what it's, I mean, it's the Old English that's like, they didn't have standardized spelling back then, but I'm pretty sure that that's what they were saying. Riotous in diet. I'm not entirely sure what that means. Like you just ate a lot, or I don't really know what that means. Riotous in play or apparel. So if you dressed weird, or if you were super exuberant about stuff, I guess, then also you could be accused of witchcraft and it was totally fine. Whether he be of evil fame or report. Like I said, if other people thought that he was a witch or there was like rumors about it, then that was like totally legit to act as evidence against you if you were brought up on some kind of charge. So, so basically, since, as I mentioned earlier, since Christianity had kind of come to the fore, any kind of witchcraft, any kind of sorcery, anything like that was considered a capital offense, in England at least, and those were the laws that kind of like transferred over to the early American colonies. Basically, according to, there was a history of English law published by Sir Frederick Pollock and Frederick William Maitland. And in this particular history, they reported that 109 hangings of witches took place between 1644 and the death of Oliver Cromwell in 1958. But that was just the deaths. There were other like witchcrafts that were witches that were like prosecuted, but like were not killed. They were either given a fine or they were put in jail or they had, whatever, something else. So that doesn't really tell the extent of it. So, and a lot of people, it should be mentioned too, that were put in jail for bullshit witchcraft charges also died in jail because the jails back then, not super fun, not hygienic, So we're just saying that. So let's get back to Margaret Mattson. So February 7th, 1683, rather, 1983. Maybe. Okay. 1683. Now, I will say that, so this is under the Julian calendar. So this is like slightly different date than nowadays. Not sure that matters, but I just thought I'd mention it. So William Penn and several of the first people that came to Pennsylvania and like established it as like a colony or whatever, this was only like a year and a half after they had arrived. So William Penn was a judge at this trial. And I'm going to get a little bit into William Penn and the whole Quaker thing like a little bit later on. But let's talk about the trial. So they bring these two ladies before the court. Margaret Mattson, and the other woman was named Yeshro Hendrickson. Like I said, they were both Swedish. Now, the charges against them, basically they're like, they bring them in and they're like, they said that their husbands should pay £50, which back then that was a lot of money. That was a shit ton of money.
That was thousands of dollars.
This dude's essay that I read, it was like a 5-page essay. You can read it. It's called The Fame of a Witch. It's a PDF. You can read it for free online. He calculated that's about equivalent to 1,000 days in jail or about a year's worth of hemp production. Like, because hemp was, like, considered...
Like money back then.
Like money, yeah. Right. So he's saying, like, considering the time it would have taken to grow it and, like, the amount it would have... Like, the amount of land it would have taken to grow it, he's like, that's about a year's worth of... So that's a lot of money. So basically, they said to both the women's husbands, okay, well, you got to pay £50 for them to show up at court. So they did that. So morning of February 27th... William Penn shows up. There's 21 dudes that first show up that are like, for the jury pool or whatever. Now, they're like, there's not a lot of records from this time period, but like they're kind of spotty. But they don't have any record of like what the original like prosecutor like gave to the grand jury, but they did have like the kind of jury selection. They did select 12 guys, and they have Margaret Mattson comes in and she basically pleads not guilty. So they're gonna try her, So I mean, if she'd pleaded guilty, they would have like whatever. But she pleaded not guilty, so they're going to go ahead to trial. So they get 12 men. Now, I told you there was a bunch of cool names in this.
Okay.
The interpreter that they assigned, because here's one thing that William Penn did, and I respect this shit. The 2 women were Swedish. They didn't speak English, or they spoke very little English. So he did actually try to get them a fair trial in the sense that he got them an interpreter that spoke English and Swedish and would speak for them. The interpreter's name was Lasse Kock.
What?
So, you know.
They probably just meant rooster, though.
Sounds like a porn name.
Yeah.
Right, but, man, don't take my fun
They
away.
didn't have those kind of swear words back
Don't
then.
take my fun away.
Yeah.
So Lasse Kock, I'm going to say that as many times as possible, was assigned as their interpreter.
Lots of cock.
Lasse Kock. It's a porn name.
Yeah, yeah.
If this dude was alive nowadays, if we could go back in a
He'd
time
be
machine
sporting that name.
and get him and
What's
bring
your
him
name? My name
forward.
is Lasse. What? Lasse
Lasse
what? Lasse
Kock.
cock.
Lasse Kock.
All right.
Women love Lasse Kock.
Yes, right.
So...
Lasse cock coming at you.
so much of it.
Yeah. Open your arms. Here comes Lasse cock.
Right. Seriously, I was researching this case like earlier this week, and I read that name and I just busted out laughing. I'm like, seriously, I can't make this shit up. But yeah, that was the dude's name. So one thing that was interesting, not only did they get these ladies an interpreter, they also allowed the women, or at least Margaret, to testify on her own behalf, which was, nowadays that doesn't seem like that big a deal, but back then that was kind of a big deal because women were not really allowed to like testify in court because ladies, what the fuck do they know? No, you weren't allowed to.
But you got to remember, this is
women
not,
weren't allowed to testify in court.
You got to understand, this is not an American court. America does not exist at this time. This is a religious court.
This is prior to.
This is a religious court. Yeah.
Yeah. And even in England.
In England, you probably could.
No, in England, women were actually not allowed to take the stand in criminal cases until the 19th century.
Okay.
So, and like I said, our laws, a lot of the colonial laws that like came from England, obviously, because that's where a lot of the immigrants came from.
But that still was probably a religious law.
So this was kind of ahead of its time.
That was still probably a religious law because you're dealing with Church of England. See?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Although you have to think, too, that this whole trial took place in Pennsylvania, and this was founded by William Penn, who was a Quaker.
Yeah.
Who had fled from England because of persecution of the Quakers, because he had parted from the Anglican Church, which I kind of wanted.
You weren't supposed to do that. He
got in a lot of trouble.
I'm telling you, that's all.
He got arrested a lot of times in England.
Just because they fucking left Church of England doesn't mean that they were different.
They weren't.
They were probably
from
the same
our point of
fucking
view.
shit. Yeah.
From our point of view, it wasn't.
They fought over
different, but from their point of view, it was a big deal.
They fought over tiny.
To me, it sounds like nothing.
Tiny little interpretations of fucking what was in the New Testament. That's what they were fighting over.
Well, yeah, like I said, but to them, it's a big deal.
To them, it was a big deal.
To them, it's a big deal. To us, it seems like, why are we fighting? Why are you fighting about this?
You don't understand religion.
I do, but I'm just saying that from somebody that doesn't believe in that sort of thing, it may seem like you guys are like fighting about nothing.
When you're dealing with societies that have based their entire legal structure on a Bible or religious scripture, little things mean a lot in that situation.
Well, I mean, and the thing too is that
Christianity ain't shit when it comes to that kind of stuff. If you really want to see some wild shit, fucking study fucking Islamic history, all the different interpretations, because they got different interpretations of Islam, and then Islamic law, So what you're talking about here, that ain't shit. Islam is even fucking more complicated.
Well, no, but like I said, that's the thing. It's like, I feel like that's kind of one of the shittiest aspects of human behavior is that even people that in general have the same belief systems, like, oh, we're all Christians or whatever. Like I said, I'm speaking to that as an outsider. We're all Christians, we're all Muslims, whatever. But it's like, so they still want to fight amongst themselves, so they will pick out the tiniest little shit.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan.
Christians spent 1,500 years killing each other.
Of course.
fighting over that shit.
Well, and like I said, William Penn,
Right.
who founded Pennsylvania, in case anyone who was not from the U.S. did not know, was originally from the U.S. I'll get into his history a little bit later, but he's a Quaker, and his parents were Anglican, and his parents were very upset that he had chosen to be a Quaker. Like I said, to me, it doesn't seem like a huge, schism or anything, but to them, it was a massive, massive deal. William Penn was thrown in, or was arrested like many times in England before he fled to the United States. So it was kind of like a big thing. But his Quaker beliefs may have informed why this witch trial went in a way that the Salem witch trials did not go.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Did you say thank you, Dan?
Mm-hmm. No.
No, you
Did
didn't.
you?
Yes.
You say thank you.
I said thank you.
Okay.
You can get me another drink if you want.
Well, no.
My shit's empty.
Okay.
All right. So, as I said, so the two ladies had a Swedish interpreter, and they were also able to testify on their own behalf, which, like I said, was kind of a big deal for the time because usually that was not allowed. I should say, too, that at this time, like Pennsylvania, it was like an official state, but it was still like, William Penn had founded it. It was like a colony or whatever, a commonwealth. And William Penn, because he was a Quaker, who were notoriously, I guess notorious isn't a great word, but they were like pacifists. So he was very against the death penalty. So when this trial came to the fore and he was adjudicating it, basically the death penalty was off the table. So these women, even if they were found guilty, would not have been hanged because he did not believe in it. And that was something that he had established quite early on, like in this colony, that the death penalty was not allowed, except in cases of willful murder, which this was not. This was a witchcraft case, like somebody cursed my cows and they wouldn't give milk anymore, or whatever. So it wasn't, she didn't kill anybody or anything. So it wasn't to that extent. So basically, like I said, there's no death penalty on the table because that wasn't a thing that William Penn or his fellow Quakers did. Like I said, they were pacifists. They did not do death penalty. So that was something that wasn't an option. So basically, what happens is Margaret Mattson and her co-defendant, let's call her that.
Connor Vatslan has showed up. He is in the house.
Oh my God, finally. The name William Penn is ringing a bell. He was the founder of Pennsylvania. That's why he's ringing a bell. Like I said, he escaped from England because he was persecuted for being a Quaker. And is he the one that's on the Quaker Oats box? I feel like that's William Penn, right?
I have no idea. He might be.
I think that might be or at least like kind of like
what they think he looks like.
What they think he looked like. I thought that was him. I may be wrong about that, but I always thought that the Quaker Oats. I thought that was William Penn, but I don't know. I could be wrong.
I can't tell you. I'm not into that.
He's not into that.
I'm not into that. No.
He doesn't know.
I'm not into those Quaker Oats.
What? I like them.
Yeah.
But
just
yeah.
in cookies.
William Penn made that shit. He makes all the oatmeal that we eat for breakfast nowadays. But yeah, so like I said, the Quakers were pacifists, so they were against the death penalty. Although that would change later on. In 1718, the Pennsylvania Assembly actually ended up extending their list. Because like I said, it wasn't just willful murder. That was, death penalty, but that was the only thing. Later on in 1718, the Pennsylvania Assembly came forward and they had a list of 14 capital offenses, one of which included witchcraft. So had this trial happened 14 years later, these two ladies probably would have been fucked. So basically, here was the evidence at play. I love this. This is emblematic to me of the bullshit witchcraft trial shit. I mean, like I said, we talked about this in the Salem witchcraft trial, but it's like some teenage girls being like, I see the old lady over there, like she's pinching me like spectrally or whatever. And like everybody bought it.
Yeah.
Or at least they pretended to.
What's so funny is those same girls decades later were fucking selling pussy.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah. They're killing people based upon these fucking crazy ass sucker stories and then they end up hookers.
See, these people, well, I feel like those girls,
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're dead now and everything, but
Yeah.
like those girls, like, do you not give a shit about
Yeah.
your actions and how they affect other people? Do you not have any empathy or...
No.
Those girls were sociopaths,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Sociopaths.
Yeah.
All they cared about was the attention that they got. And they didn't care if
Well, there was
they
nothing else to
obviously
do.
didn't care that they hurt other people.
There wasn't nothing else to do. There wasn't any social media or anything. There wasn't any
Yeah,
movies
but nobody
or TV.
else was doing that shit.
They were fucking crazy.
Other people weren't doing that shit.
They were fucking crazy. Life didn't offer
They
very
were the
much.
worst.
Life didn't offer very much back then.
Right, but that's like no excuse. Come on. Don't be such a shithead.
They thought that shit was fun.
That's what I mean. They were sociopaths.
Yeah.
Don't be such a shithead.
Yeah.
That's like your fucking... I don't understand why that's so hard for people. But apparently it's hard for people. Just stop being a shithead. Just stop
The
it.
town was boring. Let's kill some people. Let's accuse them of witches.
Right.
Put on a big show.
And
then-
they got like Tituba. She was
Yeah.
like and they liked her.
Yeah.
I thought.
She got killed during that, didn't she? Didn't she get killed?
I think she did.
I'd go back and look
Why
at
would
that.
you do
I
that?
think they killed Tituba. Yeah. They didn't know. They're
Oh,
fucking,
I'm so
they're
bored.
fucking stupid.
I'm just this friend that I have. I'm just gonna like have her killed. That'd be hilarious.
I
What
think
the
it
fuck is
was-
wrong with you?
It was just like it's a mass psychosis. I think a lot of it had to do with they were in a pretty restrictive environment.
I get that.
There
Like
wasn't
I
much
feel
to
like
do.
a
They were
little bit of
bored.
pity. Okay.
It was kind of like
But-
it was kind of like they were in prison. You know what I mean? And they were trying to lash out at the people that were keeping them under wraps, keeping them from
Well,
having
why didn't they
fun.
lash out at their fucking parents then? Accuse your fucking parents. That's who's like fucking or accuse people in power.
What-
Why didn't they do that?
I don't know, they didn't think that way.
Don't shit on people like below you.
They were kids.
Quote unquote.
They were kids.
That's fucked up. If you're gonna go after somebody in that fashion, go after somebody that's actually like maybe partly responsible for your misery. Don't go after like some people that are like kind
Well, they're teenage
that
girls.
like you and that like don't have any power over your fucking life.
They're teenage girls.
That's fucked up.
They're teenage girls. They don't know any better. And they're teenage
It's
girls
a-
back in the 1600s.
Well, that's
They're
what I mean.
fucking stupid.
It's kind of like the whole thing, and I know it's kids and everything. It's
Yeah.
the bullying mentality. It's like
Yeah.
a lot of people like that are bullies, like when they're kids. They're bullies because they get shit on at home, and so they feel like, well, my parents are beating me up or emotionally abusing me or whatever, so I'm gonna go and pick on someone weaker than me to make myself feel better because I can't lash out against them because they're bigger than I am.
They weren't getting beat up at home, though. That's not the situation.
No, I'm just saying in general, that's
With-
kind of like the bullying mentality.
With the Salem trials, what the problem was is that the town was very religious and very strict, which would have, for teenage girls, been a fucking drag. So they felt like they were under the wraps of all these people. Then they started fucking around and getting them to fucking do all these weird trial stuffs based upon just crazy shit that they were saying.
Well, and they were getting attention.
they were getting attention.
Everyone was taking them
then they-
seriously,
yeah.
which was probably a new thing.
And then they see the adults falling for this shit, and they're going, "These people are fucking stupid." So then they start.
Oh, yeah.
Then they start losing faith in what they were taught. They were like, "These
They're
people."
just like, man, I'm just
these
going to
people
say
are all
whatever.
fucking dumb.
They're just
Yeah,
going to
they'll
fucking
believe
believe
anything.
it. They'll
Yeah.
believe anything.
So
Sure.
that's what you're dealing with there. And then eventually, when they got old enough to get out of that town, what do? They go and become hookers. You know, because I think that happened to like 3 of them. I think
This is
two
why
or
you should
3 of them
never
became
give
hookers.
teenagers power.
It was just because they were like, they're just a bunch of religious fanatics, you know, fuck them. That particular lifestyle that they were living in that colony was going the way of the dodo bird anyway when that was going on. It was out of style. It was out of style then.
Yeah.
All right, and they didn't like it, and that was how they acted.
Like,
out.
I get that. Like
Yeah.
I said, I do feel some sympathy in that regard. I can
Yeah.
see how, but
The people that they got killed, I don't think they actually thought they would do it, but then they did it, and then it started to
see,
feed
that's
on
why
itself.
you always got to fucking watch it,
And I
man.
think
Because
there
you
was-
don't, if
yeah.
you really believe that like people that are in authority are that stupid,
Yeah.
then it's probably better to keep your mouth shut because
Here's
if
the-
you like say
yeah.
some shit and they believe it and like people get killed, that's on you.
Here's a good analogy. In communist Russia, in Soviet Russia, if you did not believe in communism, if you hated communism, all right, where you wanted to go in life was to join the KGB. All right. In the KGB, you had the power to be free from, you know what I mean? Fucking, you had the power to be free from fucking communism in a certain way, because you were in a position of authority. So when you go back and look at what communist or what KGB agents did mostly, is KGB mostly killed commies. They fucking hated commies. And they killed commies using commie mentality and commie rules. That's kind of what you're talking about with these witch trials. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They didn't like this religion, so they used the rules of that religion to punish the people that believed in it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of fucking ex-KGB agents that was said that they spent their time basically killing commies, using the rules of commies, that they thought that shit was bullshit. So it was like that.
Well, like I said, it's very human to...
Yeah.
Also, it's very human, too, if you feel powerless, to shit on people who are less powerful than you.
Yeah.
Because you can't get back at the people that are actually oppressing you.
Exactly.
So you have to, like, shit on people who can't get back at you.
Right, and that's what made
That's a very human thing. It's sad, but it's true.
And that's what made the KGB so hated and so dangerous. They were people that didn't believe in any of this fucking Soviet communist bullshit, and they ran around applying that standard to everyone else because they hated them. Like, oh, you're a fucking commie, you know what I mean? And they'd walk them to the gallows and fucking hang them for doing anti-communist activity that they knew was bullshit. But they're like, oh, well, fuck them.
Well, like you said, that's kind of
it's like that.
I think that's why the Salem witch trials get brought up a lot, because you can see a lot of shit that is still, like, relevant in human psychology.
Yeah.
Is that these teenage girls were obviously, I mean, they were privileged in a sense because they weren't poor necessarily. They were kind of like higher up in the community or whatever. But because they were girls, because they were teenagers, they didn't have a lot of power. And I feel like they were trying to assert their power in a really twisted way, but the only way that they knew how. But they couldn't get back at the actual authorities that were actually oppressing them. So they decided to shit on people who were below them, quote unquote, from a social standpoint. Like somebody that was a slave, or somebody that was old, somebody that was mentally ill, So they were just kind of like punching down is what they were doing.
Well, they start off
That's all they
down.
Could do.
They start off punching down because they know they can get away with it.
Sure.
But they're punching down because they know that those people believe in this shit. You know what I mean?
Well, and the longer they get away with that, like you said, the second they started punching up,
then all of a sudden,
then it stopped.
But I think the original, I think what they do is that they want to punch up, but they can't.
Well, that's what I was just saying.
They don't have the confidence.
That's what I was just saying.
So they punch down first. They're just going after any of these fucking Quaker Christians. They don't like them. So they're going to go for the fucking ones at the bottom first. And once they get away with that, they're going to move it up. They moved it up to the governor's wife.
Because, like I said, who was the first person that they accused? Tituba.
Yeah.
Because she was mixed race and she was a slave.
That's an easy target.
She's an easy target.
Yeah, and what they and it wasn't just her. It's not her color. What it was is that she was always suspect of having something to do with voodoo.
Sure.
Okay. So voodoo would be interpreted as witchcraft. So
well,
that
like
was
I said,
easy
she
way to
was
go.
an easy target.
Right.
So they knew that they would be safe going after. No one's going to say anything to them.
Yeah.
Because they could go after, everyone's going to believe them over her, obviously.
Which is, it's kind of weird, growing up in Brazil, I fucking used to see Macumba. I went to a Macumba fucking priest, fucking my friend who was a taxi cab driver took me to Macumba church. It was fucking awesome. They're fucking doing the rituals. They sacrifice a chicken on the way in because priests gonna eat the chicken.
Yeah.
Chicken's
chicken.
Eat it, Chicken's chicken. They eat it. And then a lot of singing and dancing and talking to the spirits and shit. It was like something right out of a James Bond movie. And I was seeing this stuff in the, in like 86, 87. I fucking loved it. Cute girls fucking dressed up in their white dresses, puffing on cigars, and it was neat, real neat.
It's funny how
it was church like any other church.
That's what I mean. I feel like, particularly in the mid to late 80s, I feel like there were a lot of movies that came out that were kind of like trying to demonize Macumba and voodoo.
Yeah.
But it's
not the way it was.
And honestly, a lot of it is stems from Catholicism.
Yeah, it's Catholic.
It's an African folk religion,
Yeah.
sure, but it's like it's kind of like mingled in with Catholicism.
It's just
It's just like any other.
Same shit.
It's
the
not
same.
scary.
They had their own saints and
Not scary.
everything, and it's just the people's version of Catholicism.
Sure.
It's just people's
It's
Catholicism.
not weird.
And
Not weird.
it was about singing and dancing and having a good time, and you give some money to the fucking priest and say, put a prayer in for this and this and that, and then he'd have the girls fucking
That's like I
dancing.
said, just like any
it's
other
just like
religion.
any other fucking
Yeah,
thing.
they're not.
And you know, that was back, you know, fucking I was living in Brazil, and fucking I thought it was like something out of a damn cross between a James Bond movie and a damn Duran Duran video. Had a good time. It was one of the better churches that I've been to. So there wasn't anything sinister about it.
See, that's what.
And
that's
which
what
is,
I always thought.
so I was going to say, it's kind of sad that they focus in on somebody who believes in voodoo. There's no difference between voodoo, macumba, and candomblé and Santeria. It's all the same thing, and it's Africanized Catholicism is all it is.
Well, all they're doing is the same
It's the
thing
same
that
thing.
Christians do.
They're doing the
just,
same thing.
They're just like, look, they're giving an offering.
Yeah,
That
it's-
like, look, please save my mom
Yeah.
from cancer. Please do.
It's-
They're asking for.
Yeah, it's just
something.
like
That's
just like Baptists and fucking drinking snake poison, and it's that same fucking concept. It's the same concept. The only difference is that instead of an ordained minister or an ordained Catholic priest that's doing it, it's a people's priest, and it's different saints. It's local saints.
Right.
But the stories behind the local saints, there's nothing sinister about them.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
said, there's nothing.
Now
weird
Mexico
about it.
has one, you know, Santa Muerte, which is, you know,
Well, sure, yeah.
it's similar, but the cartel members like the Saint Death or the Grim Reaper.
Man, they did
Which is
Paranormal Witness. About
Yeah,
that,
the
didn't
Grim
they?
Reaper, you know, which it's kind of like it's kind of like devil worship. It's devil worship, but that's strong in. It's going to sound crazy, but you know I got Khan in there with me. In Mesoamerican religions, you did give offerings to devils and demons because you had to pay them off. You know, most of the Mesoamerican religions, you know, they had good gods and evil gods, and you wanted
And all of them had to be appeased.
all of them had to be appeased. You know what I mean? So that's what they're talking about there. So you, fucking hardcore Christian might say that's devil worship. They say, well, more like devil bribery.
Yeah, they're just like, hey, don't fuck with me.
Yeah, right.
Here's
fuck
a
with an
chocolate bar.
enemy. Don't fuck with me. Fuck with this other dude.
Yeah, go
Shit
fuck
like-
with that guy. Leave me alone.
Mostly.
Like I said, any religion that has to do with, hey, I'm gonna give you some shit to like leave me alone or don't fuck with my shit.
Yeah.
It's totally I don't believe in it, but it's totally understandable.
Yeah.
So it's like anything like it doesn't seem evil to me or nothing. It just seems like you're just like playing like you know just to be safe.
Okay, I got to put out a warning. We're in intoxication level 2 right now.
He told me that I should do. We were talking about this last night. That he told me I should make a graphic that was like a traffic light.
Yeah.
And so, like, when it's green, we're still kind of sober.
When it's yellow,
When it's yellow, we're still it could go either way.
Yeah.
But then when we're red, we're like
just
so
fucked
fucked
up.
up that we're
Yeah.
not gonna remember what we're
We're
saying
on
tomorrow.
yellow right now. I'm on yellow right now.
Yeah, I think I'm still at yellow at this point.
Yeah.
I've had 2 drinks, but I'm all right.
Now, Khan says Malverde also. I don't know who Malverde is. Evil Green? Who's Evil Green? Malverde. Must be another, something like Santa Muerte. I don't know who that is. See, I gotta go. Here's the deal, people. I gotta go fucking to Tijuana and go hang out with fucking Khan. And I gotta go see Mexico myself.
Ken says we should do 5 stages like DEF CON.
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually, I like that idea, actually. That's a better idea than a traffic light.
Khan works at a nice hotel. He's in the hotel industry. Maybe he could hook me up with a hotel or something. But I want to get down there and try some of those Mexican tacos I saw on television, the way they were doing some shit. And I want to see those pyramids.
Taco Chronicles, that Netflix series,
Taco
made me
Chronicles
so
fucking really
hungry.
good. Yeah, that's where I learned how to cook.
I wanted
tacos.
to eat all of the things.
That's gonna be in the recipe. That's gonna be in the cookbook. I got the
I
cookbook.
wanted to eat all of the things on that show.
But
every single thing.
man, no, seeing that shit makes you want to go to fucking Mexico. Mexico would be fucking awesome.
I would like that actually.
Yeah, let's go to Mexico.
I've never been to Mexico, but you know, I've been to Europe, but not Mexico. So Margaret Mattson,
Hernandez says that Malverde was a fucking bandit and he's a saint to the cartels. Okay. All right.
Bad green.
Yeah. Ilsa is saying she's eating tacos al pastor right now from the food truck. Man, that's a hard one. We can't get al pastor because that's like a rotisserie. That's almost a year.
They did a whole episode
that's like a
about
Greek
that.
taco, Mexican Greek taco.
Yeah, that was the one that was on like the rotisserie thing.
Yeah, it's like on a rotisserie, almost kind of like a gyro.
Yeah.
Man, that looked good.
It did.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, we watched that fucking show. We watched that whole series, right? Mm-hmm. Taco Chronicles. It's on Netflix. In the U.S., I don't know about other places. But...
Khan's chiming in saying that fucking Malverde was a bandit. He was like
everything
Robin Hood.
On there looks
okay. All right. Yeah, you gotta go do a taco tour. Malverde is the Mexican Robin Hood.
He made tacos for lunch. You made tacos for lunch today.
Yeah, I made tacos for lunch today. Yeah.
With pork.
Yeah, pork tenderloin.
Marinated the pork tenderloin.
I had that pork tenderloin marinated
nice
in a little bit of olive oil, some fucking garlic, some salt, cumin, and a little bit of cocoa powder. Man, that shit came out fucking good. Oh, and I also threw a little bit of the jalapeno juice from the fucking jar, the jalapeno jar. I put a little bit of jalapeno juice in it.
Oh, did you? Okay.
And, yeah,
and you threw one little jalapeno slice on each.
But I marinated that meat like that for several hours. I had it sliced thin. And then, it was good. I didn't make those tortillas, though. I got maseca. I got so much maseca. You got fucking... Con, man. His name's Jair. Jair, he fucking turned me on to making my own corn tortillas with that maseca. Man,
they are much better.
It's so much better.
The store-bought ones are okay.
It's
like
good
they're
for fast. For the store-bought stuff is faster. But maseca,
the handmade ones,
yeah.
Ooh.
I want to try some of that blue maseca.
Oh yeah. That's the next.
Yeah,
thing.
we don't have it around here, but I'll have to order it.
You can get it on Amazon.
Yeah, get it on Amazon. Yeah.
All right,
so that shit's good.
Yeah, it is. All right, so I'm going back to Henry Drystreet. Remember that guy? He was the first guy that accused Margaret Mattson of like fucking his cows up because they weren't given milk or whatnot. So weirdly, and I don't really know how this was allowed, but he was like the first dude that accused, but he was also in the grand jury. So I guess that was all right. I don't know. Seems like a conflict of interest. But whatever. So he comes forward and he says, look, man, I've been hearing for like 20 years that this bitch is a witch, right? Mm-hmm. And as I mentioned earlier, this was kind of enough to make people suspect you that, oh, I've just heard for a long time. A lot of people told me that shit. So he said that. So he's like, oh, like a bunch of my cows like got bewitched or whatever. He also said that this other dude's mom told him that her cow had also been bewitched. Now, the funniest thing about this, though, and this is from the fucking trial transcripts, so take this as you will, because this is a quote. So the other dude's mom says that, oh, my cow is bewitched, but, quote, afterwards said it was a mistake and that her cow should do well again, for it was not her cow, but another person's that should die. So I'm not really sure if that means that Margaret was saying, well, I meant to curse that bitch's cow, but accidentally I cursed your cow? Damn. Is that kind of how I read it? But I don't really know if that's... I don't know if that's what it was. But that's kind of like how I felt like, well, I was cursing cows, and I was doing the shit indiscriminately, like you do, and your cow just got, like, caught in the crossfire. I was meaning to curse your neighbor's cow, but I just got your cow. Sorry about that. I kind of feel like that was
All right, yeah, they took Malverde, of course, in Portuguese, mal means evil. Verde is green, right? Evil green, they're saying it's bad green. Yeah.
Well, mal is
Malverde.
evil in French
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. And then...
Can I pee? You were
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
All right.
And then Con's telling me that the yellow Maseca is the best one. And then people are saying, yeah, we're segueing into food. Now, I know it should happen. It happens. And he says there's green and red Maseca. I saw the blue one, and for some reason, the blue one fucking spoke to me. I was thinking, man, that blue looks pretty good. But I want to try them all. But, you know, let me see which one I have. I have a whole bunch of that shit stored right here. Right now, I got like 6 of these. Man. I don't know if it's yellow or white. I think this is the yellow one. Jair, is that the yellow one? Or the white one? I got like fucking 6 or 7 of these things, man. I ordered like a whole case of that shit for the apocalypse. For the fucking Trump apocalypse.
What are you doing?
He's saying that that's the white. Yeah, okay, that's the white one.
What was the
All right.
closet door shut?
I showed him the Maseca that I have.
Oh.
I got like 6 of those. 6 or 7 of them.
I was in the
That's
bathroom and I heard like the closet door slam.
They
I'm
said
like,
that's
what
the
the
white
fuck is
one.
going on?
All right, well, that's the one that's the most common here in the United States, is that white one in my area. But yeah, I don't want to try them all. That man, that shit's so fucking good. I got the press. It's fucking cast iron. Press them out. Put the 2 pieces of plastic in there. For you Europeans who think you know Mexican food, you do not understand the beauty of the fucking corn tortilla when it's handmade. You put that Maseca, you put water in that Maseca, and it soaks it up.
It's a huge difference.
Huge difference. Then you make them a ball of that shit. You make little balls about the size of a ping pong ball. And you put it in a press. Now you want to use a sheet of plastic on either side of it so it doesn't stick to the press. And you squeeze it down and it comes out as a tortilla. You throw that on a hot no-stick pan. Cook them both sides. And then you can store them like that. And the flavor on those tortillas is so much better than a pre-made store-bought tortilla. You can't understand it. It's like a fucking beautiful cornbread flavor. It goes so well with any kind of pork, any kind of fucking sauce on top of it, and gravies. And look at, what was that, YouTube? No, that was the Taco Chronicles. Was that on Netflix? Taco Chronicle? Yeah, on Netflix there's a whole series called Taco Chronicles.
Yeah, it's 2 seasons, I think.
2 seasons. And they'll show you all these little taqueras, you know, which are little fucking taco places and street vendors of tacos and all the different ways that they do tacos. It's a whole cuisine into itself, man. It's fucking beautiful what they're doing in Mexico. It's kind of like in Europe, they will never understand a real American hamburger. What we're doing here with a hamburger, you're never going to find that in fucking Europe. Okay? It's the same thing with the taco. You're not going to find in Europe or in the United States what they're doing with a taco down in Mexico. It's just so much better. So I started to do it a lot, what they're doing. That's how I do it now. It's so much better.
Well, there's a
So much
whole...
better.
It's just like anything else. Once you look into it, it's a lot more like, you know, there's a lot more like fucking facets, a lot more diverse than you would think.
There's so many different ways to do it. You could do it with a copy. You got it with 2 taco shells on it. You got a flour. You got a gorjita style. There's all different kinds of ways to do it. And then the meat that's inside. What kind of vegetables? You got to understand something. Mexicans do not like vegetables. But if you're gonna, they don't like vegetables. Why the fuck would you want vegetables? You got flesh. You got meat. Meat and gravy. Meat, gravy. You want white cheese on it. They got a lot of Mexican white cheeses. You can use mozzarella. Don't use that fucking cheddar cheese. That's an American thing. Cheddar is a British cheese. It does not belong on a fucking taco.
I mean, cheddar's good, but
It's not the
for
same.
other applications.
Now that I went over to that white cheeses, here it's real easy to get mozzarella. Mozzarella on a taco is fucking 10 times better than that so-called Mexican blend cheese, which is cheddar and fucking Monterey Jack. It's white cheese is so much better on it. I made one of them with I made a taco for her one time that had Philadelphia cream cheese, which should not be on a taco, but it is white cheese, and it was fucking awesome.
Well, cream cheese is
Just
good
cream
on
cheese.
everything.
Yeah, yeah.
You can put cream cheese on pretty much anything, and I'll eat it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying.
We're segueing off into food. Let's go ahead and get back to witchcraft.
No, I'm just saying. Well, I was gonna say one more thing about
Go ahead,
food,
say one more thing about it.
Well, I forgot what it was because it was like a long time ago. But
yeah, tell me which one I need. That's the white one. Okay, go ahead. I'm ready to say.
You sure?
Somebody said Baby Yoda moved.
Yeah, I saw that earlier. Did he really?
That's what they said. I don't know.
He throwing up back there, eating eggs or something?
Yeah. Yeah,
he may be. Which reminds me, you should probably check on Pookie.
Okay, I'll check in a minute.
She's outside, right?
Yeah, she's outside.
I mean, it's only 8 o'clock. She can be on the porch, but you know what I mean. So, okay. So, like I said, the first dude that gave, like, witness testimony in this fucking trial was basically like, yeah, she bewitched my cows so that they wouldn't give milk. But also, like, this other chick's mom said, yeah, she bewitched my cows too, but maybe she meant to bewitch somebody else's cow. I don't know. I'm not real clear on that. So they brought this other witness up. And he said that, quote unquote, Anthony's wife, which was actually Mattson's daughter, who was married to some other dude. So this is like her daughter and her daughter-in-law. So she had sold her cattle, I guess. And this dude, and this is total hearsay, you guys. This would, like, not fly nowadays. But the daughter, apparently, said that I, like, sold my cattle because my mom bewitched them. And the quote was, having taken the witchcraft of Hendrick's cattle, which was, you know, one of the dudes that, like, you know, testified or whatever, somebody in this situation, and put it on their oxen, which I don't know. I don't get that. But whatever. So I don't know. So the quote was, she might keep but no other cattle. So what are they saying here? Like, I cursed the cattle because I couldn't curse the oxen? Or I wanted to curse the oxen? And, like, fucking, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get witchcraft. I don't get Old English. I'm just saying, I don't get it. But there was a whole thing about that. He also said, this same person, he said that Margaret Mattson's daughter had told him, and like I said, this is totally hearsay. This would not fly in a modern court. He said that Margaret's daughter totally told me, and this is a quote, there was a great light, but just before, and an old woman with a knife in her hand appeared at the bed's feet. So basically, he woke up, he saw some old woman standing at the foot of his bed with a knife, and said, cried out, quote unquote, cried out and desired something, somebody, Simcock, I don't know who that is, to take away his calves, or else she would send them to hell. So apparently this old woman, allegedly, shows up at this dude's bedstead, holding a knife, saying, take your calves away, or something. Or I don't know. I don't know how witchcraft works. So there was that whole thing. The third witness was this woman named Anarchy Coolin. Now, she said that that her husband, they had a calf on their farm that died, right? And they thought that the calf, oh, well, hey, Pook. The door opened and I thought it was Tom, but it was actually Pookie. She must have come back inside. What you doing, Poke? Can you do witchcraft? So, yeah. Hey.
What's up, Pook? Yeah. What's up, you alright?
Nothing. I'm just like, what are you doing? Alright, so where was I?
I don't know.
Pookie came in and like I was kind of like,
Okay,
oh, I
yeah.
thought. Did you let her back in?
Yeah, let her in
Okay.
and then I went to the restroom.
All right. So the third witness, this woman named Aniki Coolin, she comes in. She says, we had a calf and it died. And they thought that witchcraft had killed it, although maybe unspecific. Like they didn't know who caused the witchcraft, allegedly. So they're like, well, okay, so what we'll do is we'll take the heart of the calf and boil it, which was something that you did, I guess, when one of your cows died of witchcraft. I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't born back then, and I'll know what their deal was. So they boiled it, and then he said, and as I said, this is like it's funny to kind of like look into these witch trials from a long time ago, because you could totally get on the stand and be like, dude, this dude said that this other dude said this shit, and like everyone would believe you, which that's crazy. You can't do that nowadays. But so this dude said that the woman, that Margaret Mattson, had come in at that point when they were boiling the heart of this calf that they thought had died from witchcraft, and told them that, oh, you should have boiled the bones, and told them like a bunch of other shit that they should have done if they thought that the calf died of witchcraft. So that was like another kind of hearsay thing where it's like, oh, this woman just like turned up at our door and said, hey, what are you doing? You're like, if you thought that was witchcraft, that's not how you go about it. So that was like, yeah, that was another thing. So Margaret Mattson actually got to take the stand, which, like I said, was unusual for this time period, because usually women were not given this much latitude. We're not given any credence in courts. So she comes and gives her own testimony. She didn't have an attorney or anything like that. She basically said, look, that Dry Street dude, whatever he said, that was bullshit. That's what she said. I'm paraphrasing. And also that if this other person that said, oh, their mom said this and that, they're like, well, if that actual person had come forward and gave me some like charges, yeah, I would have said something to that. But otherwise, fuck off. Again, I'm paraphrasing. And she's like, so basically she kind of like came on the stand and like, look, if any of you people like that you're talking about, like actually came here and accused me directly, then I would talk to them. But since they're not here, then boink. That's kind of what she did, which good for her. So basically the whole thing about the calf's heart, she's like, yeah, I didn't do that. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know anything about that. Now, another thing that happened, though, was that William Penn, who, as I said, was adjudicating this whole fucking trial, very famously, he supposedly asked her a couple questions and were like, did you, and this was kind of a common thing in witch trials at the time, they would ask you, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you ride on a broomstick? Yada, yada. So William Penn, or whoever was like asking the questions at the trial, like supposedly said, did you ride a broomstick at any point? Is it like whatever? And Margaret supposedly said, yeah, I totally did that. I don't know if she was like trying to be like sarcastic, which if she was, I wouldn't blame her. Maybe she was just trying to be a smartass. I don't know. Yeah, did you ride a broomstick? Yeah, I totally did. Whatever. Now, another thing that was funny about this was that William Penn was kind of like, well, riding on a broomstick in itself is not illegal. So the fact that she admitted to that isn't really kind of like... So I feel like William Penn, even though... And I want to get into this a little bit because as a Quaker, they did have a, like... It was enough of a rift, like, in the whole, like, from the Anglican Church or whatever for everyone to be all upset about it. He did still believe in witches. He did still believe that witches were real. He did still believe that Satan was real. He wasn't, like, some big enlightened... I mean, he was maybe slightly more enlightened, but he wasn't, like, so enlightened that he was like, yeah, all of that shit is bullshit. But he was smart enough to be, like... He understood that these two women who were accused, because like I said, it wasn't just Margaret Mattson, it was another chick as well, that there wasn't really enough evidence to kill them. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that he was willing to come forward and be like, not say outright, I think this shit is bullshit, but that he basically came forward. He did like the best thing that he could do. What ended up happening in this particular case, which I think is very interesting, is that the verdict in this case, which even there's no like super record of it or anything like that, but what ended up happening was that the jury's finding was that they were found guilty of having the common fame of a witch. So guilty of, like, other people saying that they were witches, basically. But not guilty in manner and form as she stands indicted. So saying that you are guilty of, like, being thought to be a witch, but not guilty of cursing people's cattle, which is what she was initially brought, which was actually a really good diplomatic way of making everyone happy, I guess. Because William Penn was kind of like, he did believe in witches. I'm not saying he didn't. But the fact that he didn't think there was enough evidence to convict these women to the fact that, you know, to the extent that they would be executed. So he's basically like, well, you people think they're witches. Okay, I'm giving you that. But given that, yeah, sure, they're guilty of that, but I'm not going to say that they're guilty of killing your cows, because then that maybe necessarily would lead to them being executed or being jailed, and he didn't want to go that far, which in a way was, like I said, he wasn't like dropping his nuts and saying like, you guys are retarded and like witches don't exist, which would have been, you know, pretty out there for that time. But he was saying that, like, look, I don't think you have enough evidence to convict these women, but I also don't want you guys getting mad at me. So I'm basically saying, okay, fine, they're witches, but I don't think you've sufficiently proved the specific charges against them, which I think was a really good diplomatic solution in this, you know, particular situation. I'm just saying that he kind of resolved it in a really good way that sadly would not carry through to the Salem witch trials 9 years later, in which we all know how that turned out. You know what I'm saying? So where pretty much anything was... You're all right?
No, I'm just responding to what somebody said there.
What did somebody say?
Ilsa said that she lives in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
And she would forget that food trucks aren't everywhere, and she wishes there was a fucking taco truck there. But I'm saying...
We do have some, but not a lot.
We used to have here in Orlando all kinds of great food trucks, but they changed the laws because downtown Orlando didn't want to compete with those food trucks.
Well, the restaurants didn't want to compete with the food trucks.
One of the food trucks was a cupcake truck that fucking
that was
kicked
kind of
everybody's
probably the
ass.
most famous one.
The fucking cupcake truck.
They had a Facebook. I was on their Facebook page and everything.
Yeah. Now we're getting back to food, but shit,
That's
food's
all right.
about.
It's all right.
This show's about food and all kinds of crazy shit. All right. Now, Ilsa, if you haven't seen Taco Chronicles on fucking Netflix, check that out, because when you see how Mexicans make tacos, it's so much better than a California-based taco. You see, we got Chicano tacos here. That's what Mexican Americans in California made. That's kind of what I grew up with. But that's kind of generic, you know. Got a lot of American ingredients like cheddar cheese and shit. You know what I mean? The way they do a lot of times
they're
it's
good with that.
They're good, but
it's
not the same.
Yeah.
I was watching the way Mexicans do it on their trucks and in taqueras, you know, which is like little kind of like a lanchonete. It's like a fucking, what we call it in Brazil a lanchonete, which is like a fucking diner, but it's a diner that's taco-based diner, all right. And the way they do it there on a big old griddle, it's so much better, man. They got gravy on the damn taco.
Some of them do have gravy on them, yeah.
Cooking a taco in...
Or like a stew.
Yeah.
It's like a stew inside a taco.
Or they take the fucking taco shell, the corn tortilla, and they'll throw a little bit of damn oil that came out of the fucking... the slow cooker that had the damn pork in it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's red, you know, the red oils. And it's just, you just see how they do it and the components... And then instead of lettuce, and fuck lettuce, they'll throw what we would call coleslaw mix on it, which is the shredded cabbage, which makes perfect sense.
Well,
because
more nutritious.
That damn coleslaw mix, it's cheap and it lasts forever in the damn refrigerator. It doesn't wilt the way, if you shred lettuce, it's wilted the next day. But if you have a bag of fucking shredded cabbage, that'll last 2 weeks. So, of course, you want to use the cabbage, and it still gives you that same crunch. And then, you know, the pico de gallo or the salsa that they're making depends on, and then the guacamole, how they do it. And then how Mexicans make guaca sauce, which is avocado sauce, the way they do it is different. You know, they blend it. I kind of like California guaca sauce. I think the way it looks, I'll have to try it. The California guacamole is thicker. It's more like mashed guaca, which is, you know, what do you call it? What's a guaca? Avocado. With diced tomatoes and onions in it with some seasoning, and I like that one because it's a little more solid. It's harder, like kind of like a sour cream, which Mexicans don't put sour cream on a taco. That's a gringo thing. The Mexican guaca sauce is fucking a little more watery. It's blended. It didn't look as good. I'd like to try it. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna keep an open mind, but the California guaca sauce looks a bit better. Maybe Hernandez will fucking, and maybe Hernandez, because Hernandez is in California. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. I grew up in Carson, you know, part of my time in Carson, so I know Chicano food. You know, it's fucking good, really good. Wet burritos and shit. Fucking, I grew up back in the damn 70s, back before people even knew what cholesterol was. Back when you went to a Mexican fucking Chicano restaurant and they gave you a damn mug of pork fat. Yeah, drink some pork fat. We didn't worry about that shit, man. What are you talking about?
Sure, I'll drink pork fat.
Taquitos and shit, and nachos and all that kind of shit. Fucking, yeah, hell yeah. The little Mexican candies that look like a little umbrella and shit. Fucking, hell yeah. Fucking Hernandez. Louis knows what I'm talking about. But I haven't had good menudo. I'm just going to say I haven't had good menudo. My boy in the army... Fucking Chofino, he was another Cali. Fucking, he's from California too. He was fucking Chicano. And he only gave me the shitty menudo. It came out of a can. We were up in Korea. He's
Nobody
like, man,
likes anything out of a can.
I miss menudo. My mama sent me some menudo. We're gonna have menudo. He's cooking.
Even shit I like, I don't want to eat it.
Yeah,
out of a can.
He's cooking that shit in the fucking barracks, and it smelled pretty good. I says, let me have some of that, and I tasted it. It's like, ugh. He goes, yeah, it's not as good as my mom makes, but this is, you know.
Nothing out of a can is as good as... I'll eat canned soup and shit, but other than that...
Yeah. But I'd fucking like to have some real menudo. And I'm not a tripe kind of guy. I'm not, you know what I mean? But I'd give it a chance, you know, because I trust...
I'm also not a tripe kind of person.
From what I've seen so far, I kind of trust the Mexican palate. You know, they know it tastes good. I'd just like to try some good menudo. It's stinky. Yeah, tripe is stinky. That's just how it is. That's how it is.
Well,
yeah.
You know, that doesn't mean
it can't be any worse than haggis.
True.
Okay.
And I'm not eating that.
Yeah.
I'm not eating blood sausage either.
Yeah, right, yeah.
It does smell good, I will admit that. Like, because, like I said, when I was over there, some people in my ex's extended family were eating that shit. Because they would eat, like, eggs and blood sausage for, like, breakfast.
They're talking about getting me to eat menudo.
And baked beans and stuff. And I was like, well, it smells good, but I don't know.
All right, fucking Jair and fucking Jair is fucking fighting with Louis, saying, well, not really fighting, but Jair says that Chicano tacos, man, are made by fake Mexicans that don't count. Damn.
So, well, no,
there's some
like
taco rivalry.
They
taco
addressed
rivalry.
that a little bit on Taco Chronicles.
Rivalry.
I feel like because there were some Chicano like people that had like opened restaurants in California, say that were like first or second generation, and I do feel like there was kind of some shit between them and like actual Mexicans that were like, man, you're not doing it right. You're like trying to cater to like American palates, and that's bullshit. So I do kind of feel like there's a little bit of rivalry going on. But it all looked, I would eat all of it.
Louis telling me, Tom, you should try some Mexican barbacoa. I don't know what barbacoa is, but I'll
Barbacoa.
Barbacoa? What is
Barbacoa?
Barbacoa. What is barbacoa?
I don't know. I've heard of it though. Sophie says, Jenny, you ever eat spaghetti out of a can? I did.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Well, that was one thing that was like really weird to me is that the Brits will eat toast and essentially SpaghettiOs.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is not like SpaghettiOs. It's not exactly the same thing, but I was like, SpaghettiOs is not breakfast food. I mean, at least in the U.S. I mean, I know we can't judge. Like, we eat donuts and, like, fucking dessert for breakfast. So, okay, I get that.
Jair is saying that
I'm not eating SpaghettiOs for breakfast.
Jair is saying for a real taco, you got to be back in the motherland. And, of course, he's talking about the wetback motherland, which is right there next to the honky motherland.
It's like it's not next to the honky motherland.
It's not quite next. It's the same stand.
It's a couple oceans.
It's a couple oceans away. There's the wetback. There's the wetback motherland and the honky motherland. Right.
Not the Indian Ocean. Right, what the fuck am I talking about? It's the Gulf of Mexico. It's the Atlantic Ocean. Indian Ocean. I don't know where
fucking Oracle's going. I was wondering if Tom would be on a tangent when he came back. You know, kind of they were fucking with me.
Tom's always on a tangent.
What's the difference between Cal-Mex and Tex-Mex? Tex-Mex is very similar. Tex-Mex is like a lot more chili shit going on. But it's real. Nowadays, it would be very similar. Barbecue might be slightly included a little bit in Tex-Mex.
I feel like maybe, there's like some barbecue shit going on like that. Because barbecue is like a huge thing in Texas.
Scott Iain said he's currently ordering some Mexican food right now. So I'm talking to,
well, any food sounds good right now, I gotta tell you.
They're talking about black beans, spam taco, spam powered tacos. Yeah.
Are you done? Can I finish this case
go ahead, go. Finish the case up.
So I had a lot more, but I'm like not gonna, because we're already almost we're like at 3 hours and 40 minutes. But so I'm just gonna say this case did not end up the way that you might think. The way the Salem trials ended up, with like everybody getting killed, which you know that's obviously not a good turnout for anybody. This case, basically, what William Penn said was like, they're totally witches, or they're guilty of being accused of being witches, which I love that because it was like such a loophole. But they're not really guilty of like what you guys are accusing them of, i.e. like cursing their cattle. So they basically were like trying to have it both ways. Like, don't get mad at us because we're saying they're not witches. We're totally saying they're witches. They're guilty of that. But they didn't do what you said that they did. So that seemed like a win-win for everybody. So the two women were not hanged. They were actually not even jailed, although their husbands had to pay, I think, £50 each for what the Quakers used to call a peace bond. This was a fascinating thing to me. This is basically, you get convicted of something, but not bad enough to be put in jail. So basically, they're like, well, if you give us £50, which was the case in this trial, £50 per person. It was the husband that had to do it, obviously, because he was the one that was putting the money up. And as I mentioned earlier, that was about an equivalent to 1,000 days of jail time, or, you know, several pounds of hemp or whatever. So, like, give us 50 pounds for 6 months. So these ladies have to be on their best behavior for 6 months. And if they're not, I guess then, I don't know, they get hanged. I don't know what happens then, but it's like they're basically like paying for these ladies' behavior for 6 months. And then after that, they forget about it, I guess. But that was kind of like what happened in the situation. So I feel like that was like a really interesting, because bear in mind that this happened 9 years before the Salem trials. So the fact that, I'm going to say, reason kind of prevailed, even though they gave William Penn, he believed in witches. I'm not saying he didn't. But he gave, like, the accusers what they were coming for without fucking up innocent women's lives. You know what I mean? Like, so he kind of, like, had a win-win thing. I feel like that was, like, a really good compromise. Unfortunately, that would not happen 9 years later when the whole Salem witch trials thing happened, which went full-on fucking panic mode. But this seemed like a good... They're like, yeah, they're witches, but they didn't do that shit. Chill out.
That's funny.
Just pay some fucking money. They'll be good for 6 months. Everybody forget about it. Everybody calm down. It'll be fine. And I feel like had they done that in Salem, history might have been a lot different. But unfortunately, that is not what happened. So, like I said, I feel like when I was reading about this, it made me kind of... It's weird because it made me kind of sad. Because I was like, if the Salem shit had gone this way... And I'm not saying William Penn, being a Quaker, like I said, they were pacifists. They were very much into... They were Christians, but they had a thing where... One of their big things was, like, they would not swear fealty to any human person. So they were very against, like, human authorities. Like, you couldn't be like a king. They were very against, like, swearing fealty to a king or to any, like, authority figure, because they thought their only authority was God, and anybody human that tried to, like, usurp that authority was, like, not trustworthy. So they kind of had their own, which, you know, that's cool. I respect that. So the fact that they had that might have been some contributing factor to him being kind of intelligent enough to see where this was going and not want it to lead to something worse. So, as I said, he kind of came to the best compromise that you could come to in this situation. Everyone was mad at this woman for allegedly, I don't even want to say allegedly, cursing their cattle. Of course she didn't do that. No one can curse someone's cattle. But everyone thought she did. So he acknowledged that people thought that. And he acknowledged, okay, fine. She has the reputation of being a witch, without saying that she was actually a witch. But he was like, I recognize that you feel that. And that's valid. But she didn't do the shit that you said she did, so that's the end of it. And I kind of like that he had the foresight to pronounce that verdict, and it was apparently accepted. Mm-hmm. Which, I don't know, like, it made me happy, but in a way, like, kind of sad, because, like I said, 9 years later, the whole Salem thing happened, and everybody would just forget about that example, and, like, just went completely batshit. And they're just like, yeah, whatever. Everybody points their finger at everybody. It's like, they're a witch, they're a witch, they're a witch. And everybody gets hanged. And that's fucked up. But it just goes to show that at least it was one person who, even though he legit did believe in witches, was able to get outside of his own ass long enough to say, yeah, maybe there's not sufficient evidence to convict these ladies of anything hangworthy, let's say that, and I'm just gonna, like, try and have it both ways, and we're just gonna try and calm everyone down. And he was, like, he was successful in doing that for almost a decade, until everything went to shit later on. But I will give him credit for doing that, and I will also give Pennsylvania credit because, as I said, as far as I know, this is the only witchcraft trial that took place in Pennsylvania. Because all the shit in Salem, that was Massachusetts, obviously. Yeah. Although the shit that everybody like knows as the witch trials, that didn't happen in what is now Salem. What back then was Salem, that's now Danvers, right? Massachusetts.
I don't know. They might have changed the lines.
I think it's Danvers now.
I gotta say something though to Green Dust. Green Dust said that they're in there discussing beer.
Okay.
The virtues of Mexican beer and fucking, you know what I mean, and gringo beer. And I'm gonna go ahead and agree with Green Dust. For the money, Yinling is fucking great beer, especially that Black and Tan. I love that fucking Black and Tan from Yinling. And what you do is you take a damn big old fucking glass mug, big old honky mug, and you get it wet, you put it in the freezer and freeze that shit and pour a bottle of that Black and Tan Yinling in there.
Black and Tan is Guinness though, right?
No, but they have Yinling makes a Black and Tan. Yinling makes one too. And it goes in there and it just almost kind of freezes into ice crystals at the bottom. And it's thick and it's rich and it's not real bitter, but it's just a great beer. Some black beer is too bitter for me. Too much like coffee. You know what I mean? Which I like, but it's good, but you got to know what to do with that. Yeah. There's another drink that I like. I don't know if you people know it. You know, fucking some of you. I got Chicanos and I got Mexicans in the damn conversation. You know what I mean? And they're all good friends. We got Europeans. We got Eastern Europeans, Western Europeans, Russians. There's some shit that I learned. Asians. There's some shit that I learned when I was in Massachusetts. Okay, and it was to take a 50-50 mix of some kind of a black beer and cider, hard cider, which is basically fermented apple juice. You mix it 50-50. It's called snake bite. And you mix that into a fucking frosty mug. Man, that shit is good. And you can get... I would make that for me here. Well, we went to the Falcon. Yeah. Which is like a really tiny like indie bar. Yeah. Hopefully it's still there. Because you're mixing bitter with sweet. And they would make... They didn't have a liquor license, so they could only do beer and wine. Yeah. So they would do a snake bite with Guinness. Yeah. Half Guinness and half... pear cider, because they didn't have apple, and it was delicious. Any kind of fermented cider can go in there, about 50-50, and so you can get both bottles and mix them in there as you do inside of a frosty mug. Man, that shit is so good. It was good, actually. Oh fucking yeah, you get. And honestly, I'm not a beer okay. So my day out yesterday, in Sanford, we ended up going to. There are several German restaurants and delis in downtown Sanford, or at least 2 or 3 of them, and this is a very tiny area. So the main one that is on the main drag, which I think is called Hollerbox, I think. Mm-hmm. We were actually going to eat there, but it was too crowded. There were too many people, and there were like some kids screaming. We're like, yeah, we don't want to deal with that. So we went around the corner, and there was like a smaller one, which I think is called the Willow Tree, and it's a deli, but they also have like a little bit of a rest. So you can get like sandwiches and shit. And they have like this huge thing in the back where you can pick all these beers. So my friend Laura says to me, because she's all into like beers and stuff. I'm not a beer person. I'm a vodka person. So I don't know a lot of beers. But she was like pointing out different ones, and she's like, I'm gonna get one, so you get one. Like, so I got one to go with. I got like a chicken salad sandwich and some fucking cucumber salad or whatever. And I got a grapefruit beer, and it was actually really good. I don't even know. I'm into like coffee beers. I like vanilla stouts. I like that kind of stuff. I like pumpkin beers, but I'm not a huge grapefruit fan, but I really, really liked. I just got a bottle of it. I got a bottle of this grapefruit beer. It was really good. It was good. Now, I got Khan jumping in there, Jair, saying you can't get drunk off cider. No, you're very wrong. We're not talking about non-alcoholic cider. We're talking about alcoholic cider. It's a fermented... You can get drunk off any of that shit if you drink enough of it. Yeah, we're talking about... The cider I'm talking about is a fermented apple cider. It's kind of like a cross between a wine and a beer. It's sweet, kind of tart, and it's alcoholic. It is as alcoholic as beer. You mix that with stout or any kind of black beer, about half and half, 1 bottle each. So you buy 2 bottles, you get 2 drinks out of it. But you mix it into a frosty mug, and you have that sweet tart mixing with the fucking with the what do you call it? Kind of like that chocolatey coffee, kind of a dry, kind of a bitter flavor. It works perfectly. It's fucking great.
I tend to
We called it snake bite. That's what we called it in Boston. Snake bite.
I tend to like beers that are more coffee flavored, more chocolate flavored, more like I like kind of richer, like earthy kind of flavors. Also, like I said, I tend to like the grapefruit beer. The grapefruit beer I had yesterday was really good. So fruity ones are good. I'm not a big beer fan. I do like Yingling. I'll drink beer if it's available. Like if there's no other alcohol available, then yeah, I will totally drink beer. But
yeah,
Yeah,
he says he's standing corrected. They all jumped in and said, no, there's another kind of cider. We're not talking about regular apples.
cider.
We're talking about hard cider. That's what it's called, hard cider. It's alcoholic. It's the same as beer and wine. And you mix that with any kind of stout, which is
fermented.
a black beer. It's fucking,
Sure.
mix it half and half with some kind of a black beer, and it's fucking great. You can also mix it with, like, just a regular brown beer, too. It doesn't have to be black, but black, I think, is the best. And, no, you'll fucking, and the flavor's great. It's fucking great. I love it.
It's so weird,
Snake
though.
bite.
I'm so used to drinking and getting drunk and having hangovers from vodka, generally. Vodka, mostly. Although, sometimes gin, sometimes whiskey. Although I try to avoid whiskey nowadays. But, so I'm used to that kind of drunk. Drinking beer is like a different kind of drunk. I will occasionally get drunk off beer if we go to someplace, like I said, like the Falcon, that doesn't have a liquor license and they can only do beers. So it's like, it's not my preferred drink, but I will drink enough to get drunk there. Mm-hmm. And it's like an interesting, 1, it makes me feel super fat. 2, makes me want to pee every like 15 minutes, which doesn't usually happen with harder liquors. But it's like, it's interesting how it's like, it's a different kind of drunk and it's a different kind of hangover.
Now, Green Dust comes back in and goes, I really need that now. Closest thing I've had to that might be the Vermont woodchuck. Now, I don't know what the Vermont woodchuck is.
Vermont woodchuck.
This sounds good, though. Tell me what a Vermont woodchuck is.
Ken says they have Yingling ice cream.
No, really? I never heard of that. Yingling ice cream?
Okay, now I'm intrigued.
Yingling is actually America's oldest brewery. That was one of our first breweries.
I got into that because of my brother. Because I wasn't a big beer fan. And he was like, no, drink some Yingling. And I ordered one time. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's pretty good. Because every beer I'd had before that, I wasn't into it.
See, what's funny is that you'll have, like, Europeans talk about American beer, and they'll point to shit like Budweiser and Busch and crap like that. We don't like that. That is not American fucking beer.
A lot of dudes do drink that, though.
That was mass...
But that's like piss water.
That was mass production swill.
Yeah.
More of like shit that you would see from the 1950s.
People that know about beer don't
they don't
like
drink that. The 1950s was an era of mass production. The world wars had ended, and they had these big corporations trying to feed everybody and give everybody some kind of drink or something, and they were going to do it cheaply, in mass. And that's where those companies came from. That's not good quality. It's just...
I mean, drinking a Budweiser... I could drink like a whole case of Budweiser and nothing would happen.
Traditionally, American beer was just like European beer. It was local breweries doing that.
I'm so happy that's back now.
Yeah, and that's coming back. But you go back to the 1800s and the early 1900s, it was local breweries just like you had in Germany and England. That's how it was done. All right. It wasn't until after the Second World War you saw these huge companies like fucking Budweiser trying to give everybody 2-cent piss water. This shit was nasty. But microbrewery beer. The closest thing to that would be Yingling. Yingling was a real American beer company. You drink it, that tastes like beer. It tastes just like German beer, like like a stout or a Hefeweizen or a Weissen beer. You know, just depends on what.
The weird thing about Yingling is that you can't get it in certain states.
You can get it here.
You can.
Yeah, you can get it
But
here.
the weird thing about it is that I don't know about nowadays, because I had my sister's ex-husband. He was from Philly, and then they lived out west, and he was always mad that he couldn't get Yingling, because I guess you couldn't get it like past. It was like a fucking Cannonball Run situation where on the other side of the Mississippi River or something, like you couldn't get it. Yeah. I don't know what the like legality of it was.
Jair says that oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So every time that he and my sister came to visit us in Florida, he would buy like cases of Yingling so he could take it back, because they lived in Seattle, they lived in Denver like for a short time, and they couldn't get it out there, and he was like really missed it because he was from Philly. So it's like you couldn't get it. I don't know about nowadays, but that was like back in the day. But so because of that, I started like, because like I said, I've always been like a vodka person, but I was like, well, beer, okay. And I got kind of into Yingling, and I'm like, oh, this is okay. Yeah. I could get drunk off this.
Okay, and the Badger comes in and says, cider and stout is a poor man's black velvet. Very nice, though. Yeah, it is.
It is.
That's barroom shit, man. We used to do that up in fucking New England. Just, you're in the bar, you're already drunk, you just start ordering fucking...
Well, you don't want to, like, you don't want to, like, black out.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also not super gourmet or anything.
Right.
It's just the working
you
man
want something
stuff.
That's reasonably priced.
Yeah.
That will give you a buzz, but is not gonna like wipe you out so bad that you like do some shit that like that you get sold into like sexual slavery or something like that. That you don't you know what I'm saying? It's like you don't want to get to that point.
Now Con in Tijuana says they have a beverage called tepache. It's fermented pineapple. That shit sounds good, and you can send that to me. Anybody wants to send me some tepache, go ahead and do that. I'll drink that. I'll do that. You can get drunk on that.
I am intrigued by the idea of fermented pineapple.
Yeah, and then Sophie's going on telling people about Angry Orchard. Angry Orchard's good cider, too.
It is, yeah. I like that shit.
Yeah.
But fermented pineapple? Ooh, pineapple juice is one of my favorite things.
Pulque. Pulque was another one that's kind of like a cider. I think pulque was made from cactus or something, I think. Or agave. I don't remember.
Oh, perhaps. I feel like I need to try more beers. Yeah. Well, because like I said, I watch beer and board games a lot, and they always have like these cool sounding beers, and like sometimes they'll like say what they are, and like they'll drink them, and I was like, man, that sounds really good. I need to like remember that, and like I feel like I should write it down because some of it sounds really good, but I never do.
Louis chimed in and said the pulque is made from agave. Yeah, I thought it was agave. It's like an agave cider. If I think, or an agave beer. It's fermented agave. That same thing in fucking, that's what tequila, flavored tequila with that.
I mean, weirdly, I don't know, like for some reason, like if I'm going to have beer, I want a vanilla flavored beer or a coffee flavored beer. Or pumpkin beer is good too. Yeah. Because like I said, I'm a basic bitch and I love pumpkin. Yeah. I love pumpkin flavored shit.
So are we done with the show?
Probably.
I'm hungry. Let's make something to eat.
Holy shit, have we been going for 4 hours?
Yeah, 4 hours.
Did we even talk about this fucking case?
You wrapped the case up. Of course you talked about the case. You wrapped it up.
They didn't get hanged.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Somebody had some fucking reasonable shit.
Trying to say you moved off of yellow and now you're on red. You're on level red now, right?
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far.
Okay. All right.
Is this my third one?
Yeah, your third one, yeah. That's like a double, so you've had like 6.
Yeah, but you know.
Yeah.
My poor liver. Guys.
All right, go ahead and shut it down. Hey,
I don't even want to say it.
Thanks for showing up tonight, man. It's good to see you guys. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And is there anything else you need to plug, Jen?
Everything. Buy my books.
Yeah, buy the books. Fucking. What else?
I don't know.
That's it. Okay.
Pretty much.
Good to see you guys. Go ahead and shut it down, Jen. We'll see you guys in tomorrow.
I'm trying to we're gonna do.
We're gonna stream tomorrow.
Oh, we already know what we're talking about tomorrow because we watched it last night.
Okay. All right.
Documentary.
Yeah, it was good.
Oh yeah.
Documentary about The Exorcist. Matter of fact, you can go ahead and look, man. These are our friends here. You go ahead and give them a heads up to see that. Tell them what to see.
Shudder just added a documentary about
the making
of
the
Exorcist, which is essentially like an extended interview with William Friedkin, the director of the Exorcist.
It's good. You guys need to see it. Yeah.
I was a little inebriated when we watched it, but I'd seen like interviews and read interviews with William Friedkin before. Yeah. But I really liked all the shit that he went into. Like I told you while we were watching it. Like when he went into all the art history shit, I was geeking out. Yeah,
hey Tila, go ahead and watch it's on Shudder, right?
Yes.
It's
called Leap of Faith.
Yeah, it's called Leap of Faith.
Leap of Faith.
Shudder. I don't know if you subscribe to Shudder.
William Friedkin on The Exorcist.
Exactly.
And we're gonna review
the making of The Exorcist
because we just like watched that last night. And it's basically like I said,
it's about how to do cinema.
It's William Friedkin talking about The Exorcist, but they also he talks about like all his influences, and he talks about, and I was like, filmmaking, art,
what shit meant, the soundscape, how he added fucking clock sound effects, and what it made.
I love that shit.
If you have Shudder, go check that out. The Making of The Exorcist. It's new.
I found really good. Yeah, they just I think they just put it up like yesterday or the day before. Yeah. I found it like fucking riveting. But like I said, I'm like an art history dork.
Yeah, Tila says she's got it. Yeah, Leap of Faith. Go ahead and watch that shit tonight.
Yeah, it's good.
You're going to like it. Yeah, it's good.
I mean...
And it's strangely relaxing. We were like relaxing. I'm like, yeah, right, tell us. And then what? And how'd it go?
I was so into it.
That's why you put that in there?
It's like so weird. I was so into it.
Because he starts getting off into the paranormal.
Well, he was... Well, and he was talking about, like, Caravaggio and all this other kind. I was like, dude...
Gods and devils and we don't know if it's real. Is it real? We don't really know. Think about it. We don't really know anything. So I just did the movie like this.
Well, I feel like that was kind of the one of, and I mean, you have to say, like William Friedkin, he just directed the movie. Like William Peter Blatty like wrote the book, right? So I do feel like you have to like credit the writer, but I think the fact that both William Peter Blatty and Friedkin were believers in the shit. Like they actually believed that a demon could possess somebody. Yeah. I think that made the movie better. Yeah. If somebody like my asshole ass had made it, it would have just been a big joke because I don't really like believe that can happen. But the fact that like somebody,
even though she's seen paranormal shit, she doesn't.
Right, but that's not the same thing. It's not. That's not demons. Dude.
Oracle.
That's a whole different.
Oracle.
That's a whole different thing.
At 10,000, you're not silver. At 10,000, you're bronze.
It's bronze.
And
silver's what? 100,000?
Yeah, something like that. And YouTube doesn't give out bronze anymore. That was like back in the old days. We'd have to buy a fake bronze.
We get butt kiss nowadays.
I would buy a fake bronze and put that bitch back there.
Do you want me to buy you? I will buy you one for Christmas.
You gonna buy me a fake bronze for Christmas and put that shit back there?
I'll make you one. I'll make you a little bronze like plaque.
I imagine somebody's on YouTube. Somebody's probably on fucking eBay selling an old fucking vintage bronze.
Well, if anybody was like smart, they would do. Well, shit, maybe I should do that. That's like an untapped market. Yeah, I'm sure.
Make a fake bronze fucking plaque.
Somebody's already thought of it.
Because I've seen them before. They used to look really cool, but that was like a long time. But that was like 10 years ago.
Well, like I said, that was back before you had like channels that are complete bullshit. Yeah. Like having several thousand.
Yeah, you can buy subscribers.
Well, the thing about it now is that I see some channels that I love, and it's like, ooh, they have a lot of subscribers. And I'm like, okay, that's totally justified. But then I see a couple channels that are like bullshit. I'm like, why would I be watching this? Right. And they've got like fucking 40,000 subscribers. I'm like, who are these people? I don't like get that. Who is watching this? But whatever. I don't know what other people's like viewing tastes are like.
Louis says, shut it down. Fucking Jenny's stuttering her words.
I am.
Yeah, okay. We'll shut it down. We're going to shut it down.
I don't feel too bad. It's like 4 hours and 6. We covered most of the shit. Like I said, nobody died in this situation.
Somebody saying
that's good.
She's not level red yet. I can tell.
I'm not level red yet. Yeah, Tom knows his beard. Last week was level red when I didn't even like remember what the fuck I was doing.
They're still back in there talking about beer. Next
I'm
week's
still.
Tom takes a tangent. That's what Oracle said. Next week's topic is Tom takes a tangent. Of course, I'm gonna take a tangent.
I won't know what next week's topic will be until
Con's fucking checking
tomorrow
out.
when the polls end.
Okay.
The polls end at noon tomorrow if you're on Patreon. If you go become a patron, you only have to give $1 a month. You will be able to vote on whatever our topic is and also whatever our movie perspective is for the upcoming week. So I will not know what the topic is until tomorrow at noon when the polls close.
Yeah. When the polls close.
When the polls close.
All right, it's good to see you guys. We got shit we got to do right here. I'm going to make something to eat. It's good to see Louie, fucking Sophie, Carnavatslan, everybody who's here. Tabby was in there.
We love
We're
you
going to
guys.
see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Witches.
Witches.
Motherfucker.
Go ahead.
Right. Bye.